Hello, guys. Welcome back to this live streaming dedicated to the analysis and thoughts of episode 22 of season 4, part 2 of Shingeki no Kyojin, or episode 81. So sorry that I couldn't make the live streaming yesterday, but I was definitely busy and I had many other things to do. So sorry for that. But here I am, as I promised you yesterday. So I just wanted to wait few seconds, so you will be able to join me. And as always, I am going to analyze scene after scene, everything that I saw. And I am going to do that by telling you my thoughts, my personal thoughts. So I will be clear once again with you. These are just my thoughts. This is not something objective 100%. You can agree with me or not, but these are my thoughts, so they will always stay my thoughts. If you have your thoughts, good for you. But this is a live streaming focusing on my thoughts. So that is it. Anyway, uh, for all the people who are saying that this episode is just a transition episode, it's not an episode that is so important to the story. I don't agree with you. I think that even if there are less sheets of papers of notes that I made, it's just because there are not symbols, that are not things that I had to analyze or to compare with other seasons, even if there are some of them. Yes, anyway. But people who are saying that this episode, yeah, it's a transition, they are totally wrong. In my opinion, this episode was definitely important for many subjects involving the story. And it was pretty important also because we see a great development of characters. So even if this episode has its own importance, and no matter if these analyses or thoughts will not be made of three parts, that doesn't mean anything. The powerful things that Shingeki no Kyojin can tell us can be referred to an episode like this or to an episode like the previous one. So I think that people should focus on each episode by giving its importance no matter what. So just be careful when when you say, this episode doesn't mean anything. This episode is just a transition. This episode is not important. I don't think so. I think, yeah, this episode was definitely important. But okay, let me start um, by saying that in the previous episode, we saw that at the end, Eren was making a speech about what he was about to do. And in fact, in this episode, we start the episode actually by seeing that scene once again, because I think that that scene was pretty important because for the first time we see the Eren of Shingeki no Kyojin season 4 telling his wish and his will, because it's a commandment, as I was telling you in the previous episode. So it's a thanks to this speech that we understand what's going to happen next. So that's why I think that at the end, that at the beginning of this episode, we see once again, we hear once again this speech made by Eren, also because there are all these Yumiru no Tami listening to him, and there is this connection between the two episodes. In fact, at the beginning, we see that most or some of the Yumiru no Tami that they were listening to Eren's speech were also coming from Liberio, from the confinement area of the Yumiru no Tami who were living in Marley. And in fact, we see one character in particular because, yeah, in the previous episode, I was telling you that this character was having the red armband. That is the armband that is given to all the honorific Marlians. parents or relatives of these honorific Marlians or honorific candidates who were supposed to be the new Titans or the Titan owners. And in the previous episode, I was telling you, look, that man who is having the red armband, it can be the father of Annie, or it can be the father of a Peak, because both of these girls have their fathers waiting for them. Especially even Peak was analyzing her father's condition in episode 16 of season 4, part 1. So I was confused about which one to choose. But in this episode, we understand that we are talking about the father of Annie. And even in this episode, I already anticipated this. I liked the fact that this episode is a circle too, because we start with the father of Annie at the beginning of the episode, and at the end of the episode we see Annie coming back. So I really like the this structure of a circle that is usually used by Isayama in all his story, no matter if it's just through an episode or just through an entire part of a season, like season 4 part 1, when at the beginning Falco, no, Gabi was saying Ajimatta, do you remember in episode 1, season 4, part 1? And at the end of season 4, part 1, Armin is saying, Ajimatta. And in fact, Eren and Reiner were supposed to meet and fight one against the other one. So as you can see, Isayama likes to put this cycle or this circle theme inside of his episodes or inside of his part of these seasons. But even in this case, yeah, it was like this. So at the beginning, we see Annie's father, who is back to Liberio because they were all taken to the dimension of the paths, in which they could have heard the Eren's speech. But in this case, we see that Annie's father is going back to where he was with what he was doing. He was having shopping, but suddenly he was captured inside this dimension. And let me say that all these Yumiru no Tami who are listening to what Eren is saying, they are confused, they are terrorized, they are afraid of what's going to happen. And in fact, even Annie's father's face, please don't tremble, even Annie's father's face is terrorized. You see that he doesn't know what else to do. You see that he's quite afraid of what's going to happen. And in fact, he understood that the rumbling is coming and they can't avoid this. So all, not just the Liberio, but all Marley will be involved in this, of course. And I think that by being worried, he's also worried for Annie, because I think that he knows that Annie is alive, also because Reiner and all the others came back to Marley in season 4, part 1. So they could tell them. I'm pretty sure that Annie's father is convinced that Annie is alive. And we saw it even in season 4, part 1, when he was talking to Karina. And that's why I think that Annie's father is sure that Annie is alive, but he's still afraid of this because do you remember that Annie made a promise to him to come back? So when he is making these terrorized face, it's also referring to the fact that am I be able to survive because I still want to see my promise. I I hope that Annie will be able to come back and let's meet once again. So I think that he is not just thinking about the rumbling at that time, but he is also thinking about that promise he made to his daughter. I mean, that his daughter is making to him. And that's why all this situation is causing all these people, wow, terror, simple terror. And I can put myself in these people's position because they are the only one who are going to understand what Eren wants to do. But the rest of the world, of course, couldn't listen because this is just referring to Yumiro no Tami. And it means that only in Liberio or only in the other districts in which these Yumiro no Tami are confined, they could hear this speech, and the rest of the world couldn't. So this is pretty hard because even if they are about to tell other people what's going to happen, by being the Yumi no Tami, they will not be believed. I mean, they will not be trusted. But anyway, I think that all this situation is going to collapse sooner or later because, of course, the colossal titans are coming and we can't avoid them. They can't do anything to prevent it. They can't do anything to stop them. So it's like as if it's condemned to death, and there is nothing that can change at this point. Then there is another scene in which we see Gabi, who's going to search for Falco. Of course, you know that Gabi already feels guilty because of everything that happened. Um, Already, Gabi's development of character started, and this is something great. I already told you in the previous episodes that I was really happy and I was waiting for this moment. If you followed me even in the previous months before season 4 part 2 was starting, I was rewatching the season 4 part 1 and I was telling you, look, I'm definitely convinced that Gabi is going to change, or I hope so. But in these episodes, I was definitely surprised in the best way because Gabi was changing a lot, and she was showing us this great development of character that made me so happy. But let's go step by step. Anyway, we know from Reiner, because Reiner is next to her. And now, first of all, we see the armored Titan that is losing the armor totally. It's just a frame, but it makes you already understand that things are different now. And even the power of the armor Titan is totally gone, as much as we all know. So that frame was really important because it's referring even to what to what Gabi is saying through Reiner's words to Armin. And this is another connection between the beginning of the episode and the end of it. So every time in Shingeki no Kyojin, in my opinion, you have to pay attention to all details, to everything that is said, because these will be really helpful for you to understand the story the more you go on. And this is one example for this. But anyway, Falco can't move right now. This is what Reiner is saying. We all know that his memory will change a little bit because he is getting in touch with the Joe Titan. So all his memories are a little bit confused and they have to match, and it takes time for this. So Falco right now is in a hard situation. And then Reiner is saying that he's taken away by John and Connie, in his opinion. So um by saying this, we understand that even John and Connie, by taking Falco, they want to prevent the fact that Falco can transform or Falco can go somewhere else, that Falco can turn into an enemy. But then I'm going to tell you my opinion on Falco too. And it's differing from what Reiner is thinking and what's going to happen later. But definitely, we understand that Falco right now is in a hard situation, and it's the first time for him to experience something like this. But we definitely know that he heard Eren's speech because even if he was not conscious, Eren could telepathically saying his speech to everyone. not just to Falco at this point, but I'm pretty sure that even Annie could feel Eren's speech, because you know that even in season 4, part 1, Annie was over there inside of this crystal cocoon, and while she was there, as much as Lara Taiba was understanding what's going on in season 4, part 1, when Eren tries to break this crystal cocoon, and you see that Lara Taiber's eyes are moving somehow, or she's conscious inside that cocoon anyway. Last year, I was telling you that even Annie at this point can be conscious inside of the cocoon. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that Annie could feel what Eren wanted to say, or she could feel at least Eren's voice. So I'm pretty sure that even Falco is having the same mm, feeling. I think that even Falco can feel even Falco can feel what Eren was saying, even if he was not conscious 100%. So I feel Falco in this moment because you know that he was always trying to find a way. He was always being peaceful. He is a type of character that wants to find a solution as much as Army wanted. So now, I feel so sorry for Falco, sincerely, because as you all know, I didn't want him to become a Titan because this means that he has a 13 years right now. And it means that by having the time limit, he can't definitely spend the time with Gabi as much as he wanted. And this is pretty sad. But I also know that Falco did what he did to protect Gabi anyway. So as I told you already many times, Falco is showing me that he has many things in common with Eren for the same reasons. So that's why I really like Falco for the same things. But at the same time, I feel so sorry because I really wanted that he could survive even after Eren's death, in a way in which he definitely could spend the time with the Gabi. He could stay together with all the others, and he could start his life over and over again. But from this thing, we understand that this will not be so possible. I mean, it will be possible just for 13 years, but then he will also die at this point, because I still have to understand if after Eren's death things are going to change regarding the length of the Titans or not. But okay, let's go ahead. Anyway, I feel Falco. I feel so sorry for him, and but I'm so happy that he could keep the promise to Reiner, and I'm so happy that by doing what he's doing, he is protecting the person he's loving. That is one of the most important things. If this is going to be important for Eren, and if this is what I agree, because of what Eren is doing, I also agree with what Falco is doing. That means protecting the people he's loving. And by saying this, I also agree with what Gabi is doing. That means protecting the people she loves. So this is pretty coherent, and I really love it. But anyway, um, Reiner, by saying that his armor is stripped away, we understand that everything that is hard mm, is stripped away too. So this is another characteristic of what's happening later, because we understand that even Annie's cocoon, crystal cocoon, is gone, is stripped away. I mean, is melting in that case. Um, but I really liked Reiner's feelings here in this episode, because once again we understand that Reiner is feeling useless. He is feeling as if he couldn't change anything, And of course, we understood that these are the main characteristics of Yumiru no Tami, because even Yumiru or Ymir was feeling like this throughout all her life. So I really like that now that we understood more or less all the characteristics of Ymir that were transmitted generation after generation. We see that even in these characters we can find all these main characteristics, and what Reiner is feeling right now is definitely a side of Ymir that is transmitted, the feeling of the fact that he couldn't change anything throughout his life, the fact that he feels useless and he would like to do something for the sake of others. um and the fact that he couldn't change anything, this once again reminds me of Eren, because even Eren throughout his life couldn't change anything, and I mean until this moment. But I really feel Reiner too, because from now on, especially from now on, he is confirming to himself once again that his life was definitely meaningless from his perspective, because he was always wanted to become the hero of the situation. He wanted to become the hero, if you remember, in season 4, part 1. It was really well explained, the fact that he wanted to become the hero for others, to save the world. In this case, in season 4, part 1, he wanted to save the world from Paradise and from these evil uh, creatures that were living in Paradise. But now, in season 4, part 2, when we are saying this sentence, it's changing its meaning once again. And in fact, Reiner here wanted to save the world, not from Paradise people, because he was getting used to the fact that they were not demons, but they were just victims too. But he definitely wanted to save the world from Eren and from everything that he wants to do. That means the rumbling. But as you know, sorry, I'm stopping the heater. Otherwise, I feel so. Ah, I feel so hot right now. But anyway, he wants to save. Sorry, it's trembling a little bit. Sorry. He wants to save the world from Eren, and even in this case, he couldn't do anything. So if we put ourselves in Reiner's position right now, we would feel so useless, as if we spent an entire life to try to save the world from different perspectives, by trying by trying to change the world for the best, but he couldn't. So I definitely feel Reiner's pain, Reiner's feelings of uselessness. I I definitely understand that Reiner's life was always surrounded by these feelings of I can't change anything. I am useless. I would like to become the hero of the situation by saving the world, but I can't. Every time there is somebody else who's stopping me and who is creating lots of damage and things like this. So I definitely think that Reiner's character is pretty amazing, because, okay, even if I don't think that Reiner is the protagonist of this story, but is definitely necessary for the story as much as all the others, and that's why I really like him. Um, and Reiner is also saying Eren will destroy the world. So Gabi, by hearing these words, of course, she is ready to defend the people she loves, as always. I mean, she did it in Liberio too, but this time is a little bit different, because in season 4, part 1, and I was also criticizing her for this, in season 4, part 1, she not just wanted to save Zofia, Udo, Falco, but she wanted to save even the guards who were confining her into the Liberio confinement zone. And at that time, I was feeling, I don't think, I mean, no matter the great sort of a relationship that she was having with the guards, I don't think that this could have been thought as a great relationship. But now, in this part two, I totally understand her because right now she wants to defend other sort of relationship that matters more than the guards in season 4 part 1. So I understand when she really wants to find a solution even if it seems impossible to do so, because the people she wants to save are definitely more important than those guards. Here we have Falco, who declared love for her. Here we have Kaya and all the Browse family who somehow declared a sort of love for her by taking care of her, by protecting her, by rescuing her. And these Browse family can't be compared with the guards of a part 1, because here the Browse family showed her that they were not devils, that they were people who have a heart too, that they were people who were ready to rescue her, their lives to protect her, that they were spreading love to her, something that the guards were not spreading, no matter if they were having some ironic moment together and they were saying hello, 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 but it was not the same relationship. Do you understand what I mean? So now more than ever, I understand what Gabi is doing because of the core of her purposes. That means saving people who really matter in her life. So I totally stand her. As much as I found in these episodes, in this episode, sorry, lots of comparisons with Eren, with his behavior. That is, I don't wanna say almost the same, but yeah, almost. And of course, this is one of these points that she has in common with Eren too, as much as Reiner had the same thing in common with Eren. At the end of the day, they are all Yumiro no Tami. So um, Ymir loved to protect the people she cared more than herself. And this is one of the characteristics that we learned even from the previous episode from the origin, from Ymir. So all Yumiro no Tami have this characteristic. Then even the Ackerman have this characteristic, no matter the fact that they are like a scientific experiment of Yumiro no Tami. But anyway, they descend from Yumiro no Tami, I mean, from Ymir anyway. And this characteristic could have been seen in all of them. So I'm not surprised that even Gabi is feeling something like this because she is a Yumiro no Tami. And but she's having lots of things in common with Eren, definitely, because even Eren is ready to go against the entire world to protect the people he loves. In this case, Gabi is ready to go against everything that is going to become an obstacle in order to defend the people she loves. So this determination, these a feeling in which you can understand that no matter what's going to happen, she's not going to stop, she's not going to give up. This is a characteristic that definitely she has in common with Eren. But then they go inside this house. I really wanted to praise Mappa Details once again, because when we go inside this house, you see that everything was um, it's like as if there was an earthquake over there. In fact, everything is left as it is, as if it's like a sort of ghost town. Or you understand that people escaped from there because there were these walls breaking. So I want to praise Mappa because they could. show us this state, this feeling as if something really bad happened, and you see the desolation, you see um, the consequences of these breaking walls that are going to damage even a paradise too, at least the areas of a paradise that are next to the walls. So, yeah, even if Eren wants to protect the paradise, he definitely caused a little damage even in paradise too by breaking these walls, because you need to remember that, for example, people who were living in Shiganshina, they were all surrounded by walls, and Shiganshina was a little district. So let's try to imagine if all these walls are falling apart, they are creating lots of damage. So even the lives of the people living inside of Shiganshina, or all the people living next to the walls, they could have had a hard time too. And many people were dying for sure over there. If we have to be coherent, yes, let's be coherent as always. But anyway, yeah, I want to praise the way in which Mappa was representing, even in this episode, the desolation, the terror, the apocalypse that is happening, because actually it's an apocalyptic moment of the story. So everything that is concerning these, the colors, the tremble of the rumbling, the noise, the background, the music, uh, the way in which they are drawing the eyes, from which you can understand the feelings of the characters, everything. I mean, it's so essential. The small details, the houses that inside are abandoned because the people had to escape once again. So all these leitmotif of Shingeki no Kyojin that is repeated, but this time is a little bit different, because even the atmosphere, what you feel, is totally different. It's more intense, let's say. But yeah, Gabby and Reiner are going inside of this house that is abandoned. Nobody's there anymore. And the first thing Reiner is saying is, go away, try to find the other members of the Marley military forces, and try to find even Peak, and move away from here. Um, Once again, here we find the um, connection between Eren and Gabi, because if you remember, throughout all the previous seasons, to Eren it was always said, "Go away, try to protect yourself. Let's not get Eren involved because he has to be protected. Move away, try to run away, and all this stuff." If Eren had the same behavior from these people who always wanted to protect him, he was always being treated as the person who can't move a finger, that has to escape, and that's it. So I feel Gabi, because even in this case, Gabi has always to run away, has always to protect herself, has always to find a way to escape from all this situation. But even in season 4, part 1, even if Magath, for example, was telling her, "Move away, run away, what are you doing?" She found the courage to go inside that Zeppelin and kill Sasha. So, as you can see, even Gabi, she's a rebel and she doesn't want to listen to the suggestions. But she's totally right in this case, because where do I have to escape? I mean, the world is going to collapse. What am I supposed to do? If we stay here as a paradox, we're going to be saved, and it's in paradise. So while the rest of the world is turning into hell, paradise is the only place in which they can be saved. This is something crazy if you think about it, because they have always thought that paradise was a hell on earth, but now everything is turning upside down, and the rest of the world is going to turn into pure hell, while the paradise is like a heaven if we compare it. And from here you understand even the meaning of paradise, because a paradise comes from paradiso, that in Italian, or paradise in English, that means heaven. So at the end of this story, you understand even the meaning of paradise as a word. But definitely, Reiner who wants to protect Gabi all over again, and Gabi who wants to rebel to this because she can't stand all that is going on. As much as I like Eren's behavior, that is rebelling and she wants to be courageous, brave enough, and find all the gut that is enough for her to try to attack back. And for the same reason, I love Eren, when every time he wanted to try to do something to change something, but he couldn't. Let's see if Gabi can change things. We already saw in this episode that she definitely could change lots of things surrounding her. So this is a great point of in her favor, and I really like Gabi. I think that no matter all the people who are hating Gabi, they okay. I mean, all the people who are hating Gabi, they are making a great mistake, in my opinion, because Gabi is really necessary to this story, and her role is not in vain. I think people should go ahead. People should go beyond this thing of hating her, because throughout season 4, Gabi changed a lot. So we can understand the people who were hating her based on her presumptuous attitude at the beginning, when she was saying, I am the best, F the rest, or when she was saying, I am the best candidate here, all the others can't do anything because I will become the great owner of the armor titan, blah, based on my skills, blah 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 blah. Okay, you cannot like that attitude of Gabi, and I also didn't like it sincerely at the beginning. But the more I was going ahead, the more I was seeing Gabi in a different way. So I suggest you all who hate Gabi still to understand the reason why Gabi is there in this story, and to understand that she's necessary as much as all the characters in Shingeki no Kyojin. I mean, she's there for a certain purpose, and the result was amazing. So Isayama could create a character that was hated at the beginning. It's still hated, but if people can try to comprehend Gabi more, they will understand how great this character is. And I'm going to tell you later why. But anyway, um, even when Reiner is saying you have to tell the rest of the world what's going to happen, um, it's like as if they are giving another mission to her. And this time, instead of following the usual missions she's giving, she wants to follow her feelings. And this is so great because this is something that didn't happen to Gabi before. She was always following her instincts based on the missions she had, especially in part one, when we see that she could uh, be so helpful to defeat the war in episode 1 of season 4 part 1. But everything that she was doing was based on orders, was based on what she had to do in order to become an honorific Marlian. She had to follow everything that Marley was saying or was suggesting, because it was a way to be praised by them. It was a way to reach the goal she had, that means to become an honorific Marian and save her family as a consequence. So this time, instead of following the orders, she just wants to follow her instincts, her feelings. And in this case, Gabi is changing a lot because she is putting her heart in front of all the orders she has followed so far. And this is what I really loved. Let me tell you. And this was a way to open her cage anyway, so her as a bird could fly. I really liked this. Gabi is growing, is experiencing throughout the events lots of things that can help her to build her own personality without boundaries, without orders, without impositions. She definitely in paradise, she's definitely growing, and not just physically speaking but mentally speaking. That is the most important thing. um, but she's saying, she's asking, where can we run away? There's no escape anymore. And then you see that what Gabi is feeling right now, there is no escape. I mean, what the rest of the world is feeling right now is what Paradise felt for 100 years, or anyway, the fact that to be confined, but at the same time, the fear to be oppressed by them. In this case, now the rest of the world is experiencing this sentence that we could hear in episode 1 of season 1, when the voice of Armin was saying that day humanity remembered how does it feel to be oppressed by the fear to be oppressed by them. If we reread, if we can reanalyze this sentence, now it means that we, humanity, the rest of the world, are afraid to be oppressed by them. This them is the rumbling, the colossal titans who are going to approach the shores on the other side of the ocean. So, as you can see, uh, this sentence in episode 1 now can be reanalyzed in different ways. But sincerely, what the rest of the world is going to experience is exactly what the Paradise experienced in season 1, or in season 2, or in season 3, part 1. I mean, this fear to run away, this feeling of running away by knowing already that there is no escape. Because even in season 1, you saw that the only thing that they could do was to retreat themselves from Wall Maria to Wall Rose, and then from Wall Rose to Wall Sina, but then they couldn't go anywhere else, because the sooner they went outside of the walls, the sooner they were attacked by titans. So I like how Isayama could develop this idea. The same fear Paradise people had to retreat themselves from wall to wall without trying to find an escape, a real and concrete escape. Now the rest of the world is experiencing the same. Um, and then once again, Gabi is asking the confirmation to Reiner by saying, "Is it true that everyone is going to die?" And of course, uh, Reiner is going to admit that yes, everyone who's on the other side of the ocean is going to be trembled, is going to die. And Gabi, when she's hearing the same answer from Reiner, once again I find these similarity with Eren, because even Eren in season 1, when he saw his mother dying, when he saw that Paradise, I mean, that Shiganshina in this case was surrounded by titans, and the titans were going against them, he was losing his mind, and he was feeling useless, because he couldn't do anything to prevent this. As much as Gabi in this episode, when Reiner is saying, yes, everyone is going to die. So you see Gabi's face as if, and she's also crying as much as Eren was crying in episode 2 of season 1, when he is reaching that the edge of that ship, and he is saying that speech that we all remember, I'm going to destroy them all. Even in Gabi's through Gabi's face, you see that she is crying, and she is feeling the same feeling of nonsense. I mean, she is meaningless. She's useless. She's feeling like this because she knows that she's so tiny that by having the evidence in front of her eyes that these colossals are moving to the other side of the ocean, she will not be able to do everything concrete to stop them. So, this is a way to see human beings so tiny compared to these titans who are appearing and they are spreading the fear of not being able to do anything. This is so amazing because while in season one was referring to the people living inside of Shiganshina or inside of a paradise in general, here we have all these turned upside down, referring to the rest of the world. And we shouldn't forget this. And then Gabi is saying, now we have to kill Eren and stop everything. Wow, the way in which this story is marvelous because you see, and I told you this already last year, you see Eren, who was supposed to be the hope for humanity, that is turning into the target to be destroyed by humanity. This is, I don't want to say hilarious, but this is crazy. This is insane to think about this because in season one, Eren was the hope to go on the other side of the walls, a hope and also a weapon in this case that was used in order to create hope. But right now, oh, he is the target to be destroyed by humanity. And yeah, let me say that I think that Eren wanted to become something like this in order for his friends to shine, but it's pretty sad because until the moment in which Eren could kiss Historia's hand, he was also believing that what he was doing was correct. And of course, he couldn't regain all the memories he got because by becoming a Titan, you all know that the memories are still really confused, especially of the previous owner. So, when he reached that moment in which he could kiss Historia's hand, definitely everything changed from his perspective because he could get in touch with the reality. But before that, he was also convinced that he could help humanity, that he could solve things, that he could find a way to release parties in the best way from the walls, etc., etc. But now, no matter the fact that he is trying to save all of them, he is becoming the target. And it's pretty sad because everything is changing forever and there is no turning back, as I was telling you. This is a really, really, really sad. But Reiner is saying, it's impossible to stop him. This time is forever. I mean, we did what we could, but it's impossible, definitely. This time we can't find a way. And yeah, as I was telling you, um, right now these people are feeling so tiny, are feeling so meaningless compared to the Eren we see as a transformation of the Shisono Kyojin. As much as Eren in season one felt hopeless by looking at this colossal titan that was appearing in season one from the first scene. So every time it's a colossal titan involved, and this is not a coincidence, of course. So that's why I really love Isayama for this. Because in season one, you have this immense colossal titan appearing from the other side of the ocean, sorry, the other side of the walls. That means even the other side of what they were living. But in this case, we have a huge amount of colossals marching to the rest of the world. So, as always, you see human beings compared to a colossal titan. All these colossal titans are guided by Eren in the Shisono Kyojin version. But Yeah, I like these contraposition, season one, season four, to see the difference, of course, because now if we see a colossal titan compared to the Shiganshi, compared to Paradise right now, people would laugh at it because they would say, okay, now we can kill it. We know how to kill it. But when the rest of the world, who was not used to this, seeing millions of colossals reaching the shore and they can't do anything to prevent this, it's something else, definitely. Um, and when he's saying, I mean, when Reiner is saying there's nothing else to do, wow, it's like as if Reiner, once again, from his eyes, I'm just judging this by looking at his eyes, he is seeing his life over and over again. All the times in which he was hoping to change everything, but he couldn't. All the times in which he could hope to be this hero that could change everything, but he couldn't. So the disillusion on Reiner's face once again. Wow, as if even the time in which he wanted to kill himself, but he was stopped by Falco. I think that Reiner is thinking, look, at that time, it was really good for me to end my life because this is the result. I reached here by pushing myself and still believing that I could change some things, but then I couldn't anyway. So I really feel Reiner's character. I think that he is one of the best characters developed and also described because we definitely see through a writer's perspective the disillusion, the failure, the these all these feelings of repentment, but at the same time revenge, failure, regret, guilt, all these mixed feelings that are so great. If you put them together, you can create a character that is definitely saying to you something important. Um, and then um, I'm going ahead because, yes, sometimes I'm reading the notes and some other times I don't need them. Oh, the scene of the mirror. That's so great because it's another scene in which you see the contraposition between Gabi and Eren. And you see how much Eren and Gabi are similar in this too because they definitely wanted to protect the people they love. They wanted to tatakae, they wanted to fight no matter what. So this light motive of the tatakae that is represented even for Gabi too. And she is definitely saying this. I'm not going to lose Falco, or I'm going to do everything that I can in order to protect the Falco. So she's pretty determined as much as Eren is determined in part one when he's confronting the mirror. Eren, I mean, in the case of Eren, when he was saying two times that Tatakai, Tatakai, that also Hanji was trying to describe, was trying to analyze. From my perspective, you already know what that Tatakai, Tatakai means. That means Tatakai because there is no other choice. Tatakai because I have to go against my own feelings by trying to protect the people I love by becoming an evil character or by becoming somebody they can't even recognize anymore. And if I pay too much attention on those feelings, my plan is ruined. So I have to keep tatakai, to keep fighting, to go against even my own feelings. And Gabi somehow, I don't want to say that she's doing the same, but definitely she is trying to push herself to go against the other people because if this matters, the fact that she can save Falco, she is already ready to do the impossible in order to save him. And that is what Eren is doing. But the proportion is definitely different because Gabi wants to try to save Falco by killing Eren. Eren is doing the contrary. I mean, he wants to save the people he loves by destroying the rest of the world. So the proportion of these things is totally different, of course. But I really like that we see almost the same scene. So everyone can be Eren, everyone can try to do his or her impossible in order to turn it into possible. It depends on the proportion, definitely. But if we compare with what Gabi was doing in part one, also Gabi was ready to fight to protect her family, based on what Marley was suggesting her to do, to destroy lots of lives too. So it definitely depends on how you see things. But I really liked it when Gabi was taking her hair up. That usually people are doing this when they are ready to fight. I mean, you see not just Eren doing this, but even many other characters doing the same thing. I mean, when they are taking their hair like this, it means, okay, we are ready to fight and we are ready to go ahead no matter what. It's a way to create these stimulus inside themselves to fight no matter what. So I and it's a way also to convince themselves to do something like this, to be ready to fight, because there is no other choice, there is nothing else to do. So I really liked that moment in which even Gabi was trying to look herself at the mirror, trying to convince herself that there was nothing else to do rather than protecting Falco, because she's still guilty to all the situation that she created to Falco and to herself too. So when she's confronting the mirror, it's like when Eren is confronting the mirror, because by looking at the mirror, it's like as if you are seeing yourself. You are seeing what you became. And it's the proper moment in which you can analyze yourself. The point you reached, and it's a way, yes, to confront yourself about what you're going to do next, and sometimes to confront yourself in front of the mirror is also pretty scary, because you can see a person that is no more the same person as before. And in fact, both Eren and Gabi, when they are confronting themselves by looking at the mirror, they are seeing a different Eren, they are seeing a different Gabi. They are no more the same characters as before. And this was really awesome. And the way in which a character is changing, and once he or she is reflecting the image on the mirror, they can definitely see the difference. They are no more what Gabi was in season 4, part 1, and Eren is no more what he is, what he was in season 1, because the story went ahead and many things were discovered. So even the characters are changing, psychologically speaking, and this was pretty nice. I really liked the way in which Isayama could choose this moment of reflection, this moment of acknowledgement of what Gabi became after all this time. That was really awesome, as much as what happened with Eren for the same thing. Um, and this will to protect a person you love, and this will to do the impossible that is turning into possible, that no matter if I have to go against other people, no matter if I have to kill other people, etc., 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 definitely these remarks, what Eren actually is saying, not just to himself, but also Mikasa was repeating this sentence: if you don't fight, you will not be able to win. If you don't fight, you are going to lose. And then tatakae, tatakae. So even for Gabi is the same. If she's not going to fight for what she wants, she's going to lose. So it's better to fight, because by fighting, you're going to win. And in this case, what she wants to win is to have Falco back. But this, even if it's a micro situation compared to Eren that is making something macro, that means something extremely big. But this is another way, the reflection of how the world is cruel, because Gabi has to kill others in order to reach Falco once again. So the world is cruel no matter the proportion. And this is so great. I mean, this is great how Isayama is portraying this. No matter if you are Eren in the Shisono Kyojin version, or if you are Gabi with a shotgun on her hand trying to protect the person she loves, the world is cruel anyway, because there will be lots of victims because of this. And then I'm not going to give up. Falco, wait for me, I'm coming. This was really great because it's what Eren is doing. The problem, anyway, is the proportion of the things. I don't think that Gabi will be able to destroy the entire world, but Eren can, because he was tricked by the power he has. And Eren, compared to the power he has, he is pretty weak. So it was really easy for him to be tricked by it. Okay, then we move to Jan, Connie, Armin, and Mikasa. I wanted to praise Jan because in this season, he was confirming me that he is a great character. And I really liked the way in which he was logically explaining us or explaining his friends what's going on. He is saying everything that I already said last week. And I was really amazed to see that I was right with what I was thinking, because even John here is saying, look, after all Eren is doing, he is doing this for us. So this means that we are going to be the result of what Eren is doing. I mean, we are going to survive, and we are going to have inside our consciousness the feeling of guilt because the rest of the world was perishing while we were going to survive. And if we put ourselves in their position, of course, Mikasa, Armin, Connie, and John will feel this huge pain inside themselves because they are going to survive, and by doing so, they have to destroy the rest of the world. This is something, I mean, this genocide is going to reflect on them because they are going to survive. Eren chose them instead of the rest of the world, and this is pretty heavy as a responsibility to take, as a feeling that they have to going ahead to feel for the rest of their existence. It's like a curse, okay? These thoughts of being the result of everything that is happening is a sort of curse inside them because they keep repeating themselves. Look, okay, I survived, but how I survived is because Eren destroyed the rest of the world because of us, because he wanted to rescue us. But wow, I don't want to be in John, Connie, Mikasa, and Armin's position, because is my life worth in order to destroy the rest of the world? Is what Eren doing worth for me to survive? Who am I to survive instead of all the others? All these thoughts that are super important and in which we have to think more, because last time I was telling you that the rest of the world preferred to condemn Yumiro no Tami, or at the end of the day, Ymir by herself was sacrificed, and she was confined for 2000 years inside of this dimension of the paths even after her death, and she was sacrificed. That means one person was sacrificed instead of millions of others. And in the previous analysis I was telling you, look, even if that's one, just one life, that life matters, because we always prefer to praise the huge number instead of the small one. In this case, is totally turning upside down because the rest of the world is going to collapse, and only few people are going to survive. So the small number is praised or is preferred instead of the huge number. This makes you reflect on the importance of the individual, because even if it's just one person, that one matters. We can't avoid it. I mean, we can't just say just because the number is small, it doesn't matter anything. And by saying this, I was referring to Ymir and the fact that she only was sacrificed for 2000 years. But in this case, we see that the proportion is turning upside down, as I was telling you. So the small number is praised instead of the hugest one. And this is a way to turn the story upside down, but also the logic upside down, because in many other stories you see that of course the rest of the world has to be protected, and if there is a way to sacrifice one person or some people only, it's good because there is anyway this way to sacrifice others in order to reach the goal. It's like when people go to war. When people go to war, even in our real world, no matter if they lose their lives or not, the purpose is even bigger than their own lives. That means to protect the country, etc., etc. But in my opinion, this is disgusting because anyway, those people who are going to lose their lives, they matter. And even if they are few people losing their lives, they matter. Something that usually we don't pay attention because we prefer to think, oh, the country is safe. And anyway, no matter the sacrifices, we are safe. We should think also the contrary. We should also put ourselves in the position of this small number who is also going, or who is always going to sacrifice because of the sake, for the sake of others. And in this story, we see that at the end of the day, it will be like this because Yumi no Tami will be saved. So this small proportion of the world will be saved. And for the first time, so far, from what I know, but for the first time, the small number is praised instead of the biggest one. And it's a huge difference. No matter if it's politically correct or not, it's a difference, a great difference. Um, but anyway, going back to John, I really admire his logical thoughts and how the way in which he is putting into words all this story. That no matter if it's hard to say, he was saying sentence after sentence that they were remarkable and they were true. He was saying if all those people will be gone, all their pain, all their hatred will vanish too. Uh, but John, by saying this, I wanted to remark another thing that I said already in the previous commentary. Yes, what's happening, it's correct, but what about the hatred that can keep living even inside the Yumiro no Tami, that they are going to survive and they are going to handle the world from that moment on? Because I wanted to tell you this, even if Eren is going to save the Yumi no Tami inside of Paradise, later, after the world will end and everything will restart, that doesn't mean that the hatred will be gone forever, because this is a pure utopia. As much as I was saying that it's a pure utopia to believe that the rest of the world would have agreed to consider Paradise as normal people from one day to the other one. Okay. Um, Even what John believes now, or what John is saying, is a pure utopia. Because even if Yumi no Tami will survive, that doesn't mean that after they survive, they can't create other hateful thoughts about something, or they can't spread hatred somehow. No, they can, and they will. Definitely, because no matter if they are all Yumiro no Tami, they are all individuals. They can have different thoughts, they can have different opinions. So maybe we're going, maybe not, but it's something implicit to believe that even inside the Yumi no Tami, oh, look, we saw it even in season 3, part 1, when there was the coup d'etat. We were inside of Paradise, but there were people who were spreading hatred anyway, okay? So no matter if they were inside of Paradise, no matter if they were Yumi no Tami, there was the chaos. Hatred was spreaded, hateful thoughts too. So one person was against the other one. The coup d'etat was already an example that what John is saying is partially true. I mean, the hatred towards Paradise will end, yes, but not the hatred in general, because that will perpetrate throughout the generations coming ahead anyway. So, and if I told you what, and if it's going to happen, what I told you already in the previous commentary, that means that the tree can be built again, or that the creature inside that the tree can survive again and can get in touch with another Yumi no Tami. Not just the curse of Yumi no Tami will go ahead, but also new wars, new hatred, new hateful thoughts, new revengeful thoughts, etc., 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 will appear. So, John, you're right, but at the same time, no, you're not, because hatred will go ahead anyway. And then he was saying, all the enemies of our existence will be condemned to death. This is correct. I mean, this is what's going to happen, actually. And the rest of the world will become a desolated, empty land. Yes, this is what's going to happen, because the rumbling will march uh, until Eren can be stopped, if there is a way. But in this case, there is, because I already told you that, in my opinion, Eren will be stopped by Mikasa or by his friends. So there will be a way to stop him. So until that moment in which they are going to stop him, the rumbling will march, because I don't think that Eren is going to change his mind. I mean, now that he started, he will not stop the Colossals. And I don't think that he will be convinced, so the only way will be to kill him. But until that moment, he will not stop. So this land that is going to become um, a desert, I mean, it's going to become so empty. John is correct by saying this, as much as when he's saying those things that the people outside of the walls were afraid of. Now, all those things that people were afraid of, that they were about to experience, etc., etc., it's going to happen. Yes, because the people outside of the walls, they were fearing the moment, and we know this from the Willie Tybers announcement too. The people outside of the walls were afraid about this moment to come. That means when the rumbling was about to be released, as much as the power of the Shiso Titan that was about to be confirmed in Paradise, because they knew that Eren Yeager was having this Shiso no Kyojin power. So they were just waiting, or they were just hoping that they could stop him before starting the rumbling. So as much as when John is saying this is what the people have received back. Yes, I was telling you this in the previous episode, for the previous episode, in the previous commentary, that the rumbling is the result of 2,000 years of slavery. I mean, it's the result of all the Yumi no Tami, of what all the Yumi no Tami was feeling for 2,000 years. So this march is like a sort of karma that is repeating. I mean, it's going back to them as much as the same intensity that this was having for 2,000 years. It's like, as I told you last week, it's like the boomerang. If you launch it, then it's coming back the same, in the same way that it was launched. Yeah, this is what's going to happen. If for 2,000 years you spread these concepts and this hate, then this hate is going to go back to the sender in the same intensity as it was for 2000 years. So what John is saying is totally correct. This is what's actually happening. And then I like even the last question that he is asking to himself too, but also to all the others. There was not another way, right? That is almost the same sentence that Armin is asking himself in part one. And no, I unfortunately I don't think there was another way. The reason why I'm saying this is because no matter if these paradise people were going on the other side of the ocean and they were trying to explain their reasons, they were trying to explain their thoughts, etc., 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 there would have been always, even if it was one person, to repeat the same mistake all over again. So, unfortunately, uh, until all these people were going to survive, yes, there was a certain percentage of people who could have changed their mind, but there would have been also lots of people who could have not changed their minds. So instead of risking this perpetration of slavery and whatsoever for other 2000 years, maybe, there was no other choice at this point. It's so cruel to say, but in this story, we have to understand what's necessary and what's not. As much as Gabi is a character that is necessary to the story, even in this case, the result of what's going to happen thanks to the rambling is necessary somehow to change things. Because Eren wanted, always wanted to try to find a way to change things. As much as when he is getting in touch with Ymir, he is saying, you were always waiting 2,000 years until things could change. And actually, that's true because Ymir was always hoping to find a way to change things too in her life. So the change can be done somehow thanks to heavy things, thanks to destruction. It's like when nature is going to regenerate itself by being destroyed. I mean, not by human beings, okay? But nature itself, it can happen in natural disasters to nature too. I mean, when there is a tsunami, when there is an earthquake, when there is a volcano eruption, when there is an erosion, when there is a tornado, when there is, I mean, something catastrophical, okay? Even a meteor, okay? When something like this is happening, look at the dinosaurs. They were destroyed by a meteor, but this meteor was something natural happening. It was not made by human beings. But what I'm saying is that even nature is regenerating after destruction. And sometimes, even if it's hard, even look, even humanity in our real world, it has to be said that humanity will be destroyed by maybe natural disasters. So we will also be destroyed, but this is the curse of nature. Sometimes there is a destruction and there is a regeneration. This is the leitmotif of life. So even in nature, we have this process. In order to be able to regenerate for the best, we have to destroy what's wrong. We have to destroy what's evil, what's it's causing nature to become something bad. So nature is regenerating by itself by creating natural disasters, and there is this a process of regeneration. In this case, of course, human beings are doing this, and this is totally wrong. But if you see the things from a different perspective, um, it's like this: destruction and regeneration, you are the real enemy. But anyway, in life, in nature, there has to be a destruction before being a new regeneration. So I'm not saying that the genocide is correct. I'm just saying that in order to defeat hatred in the world of Shingeki no Kyojin, if this hatred was perpetrated for 2000 years without a way to change things, without a way to find a solution, it's improbable that you can find the solution now. If in Gabi, if in Reiner, there was a change of mind, anyway, they were Yumiru no Tami. They were not the rest of the world. You have never seen a person from the rest of the world changing his mind. This doesn't mean that it could have not happened. It could have happened, but the percentage of people who could have changed their mind, it was pretty small compared to the percentage of people who could have changed their mind. So that's why this thing that is going to happen is not correct, is not good, but it's necessary. That is something else. And for all the people, yes, I keep repeating this, for all the people who are saying that the rest of the world is innocent, no, because in the rest of the world too there were Yumiru no Tami districts in which people were confined, so Liberio is not the only one. Even in the rest of the world there were people outside these other Liberio confinement zones in which they were treating the people living in these confinement zones by discriminating them, by bullying them, etc., etc., etc. So the people in the rest of the world, they are not so different from Marley because they have their own districts of people with aliens confined inside. And people who are saying that women were innocent, how do you know this? I mean, women living in the rest of the world, they could have been as guilty as men. There is not a difference between men and women. No, even women they could have spread hatred or hateful thoughts regarding Yumiru no Tami, as much as men they were doing. Um, People who are saying that kids were innocent after being destroyed by the rumbling, yes, they were innocent. The moment they were reached by the rumbling. But if these kids would have been still alive later, they could have become, no, they would have become adults. And these adults were going ahead with the same mentality of their previous generations. So, as you can see, if you see things in the moment of the rumbling, of course, kids, only kids. I wanted to spare kids only, okay? Not women and not men, because they are adults and they were spreading already hateful thoughts regarding Yumiru no Tami. Anyway, no matter if it's Marley or the rest of the world, you don't have to split these two things, because Marley has Liberio, but the rest of the world has other districts in which they were confining Yumiru no Tami. So it's almost the same as Marley. But anyway, if I wanted to spare somebody, I would spare kids only in the moment of the rumbling. But you have to imagine what was coming after the rumbling if the rumbling was not activated. And I know this is painful to think and this is cruel to think, but it should have been thought anyway, because we are talking about the rumbling that started in order to prevent evil things coming from the future or in the future to the Yumiru no Tami. So we shouldn't forget not just the present time, but even the future time and the reason why the rumbling was started. Anyway, what John is saying is pretty logical. I mean, all his thoughts, I like the way in which he was analyzing the thing over and over again. Huh? And when Armin is saying, yeah, but anyway, this is too much. I mean, this is a level of a genocide that is more than my imagination. I was never believing so. Armin, I wanted to tell you this once again. as much as I was saying in the previous commentary. You are a little bit too innocent to think something like this, because even if few colossals were moving, were marching as a test, they would have killed lots of people anyway. So even if you thought that Eren was marching to kill the aliens of Marley, that was happening in Marley, and these aliens was corresponding to all the countries in the world meeting, so they could find a way to destroy Paradise. But anyway, the colossal who were marching until these aliens, they were destroying people's lives anyway. And maybe even if they destroyed the aliens, they would have not been stopped after the aliens. So maybe they could have marched till the end of time. So anyway, those people who were going to be affected by the rumbling, they were affected anyway. Do you understand? So Armin, I find him in this moment a little bit too innocent. He's not even understanding that. I want to repeat you this. This is the ocean. This is the aliens, let's say. But if the aliens is here and not here, and the few colossals that they were supposed to march, they were coming till here there are still people living. So this march was going to affect anyway civilians and not just the military people, okay? As much as if this rumbling, tiny rumbling is starting and they were, yes, affecting the aliens. Okay, let's destroy them. But what about these people here? Do you think that the rumbling is rumbling, rumbling, boom, it's coming? Finished? No, the rumbling keeps going ahead. So even the people, the civilians living here after the aliens were about to be affected anyway. So, Armin, what are you talking about? I mean, just because you think that few, okay, just few colossals were going ahead. No, anyway, they are colossals. So they are going to march, they are going to destroy lives. So okay, I don't understand this thing that Armin is saying sincerely. So if we have to criticize the rumbling in general, we should even criticize Armin, who's saying, okay, let's send just a few colossals just to kill the aliens. Do you think that these colossals have in their mind, kill the aliens only, don't kill the other civilians around these aliens? I don't think so. I mean, Eren could command them to do so, but if the aliens is in the middle of lots of civilians living over there, how they are supposed to spare these civilians and just attack the aliens? I don't understand, sincerely. But okay. Then John is asking him a great question at this point. He's saying, "So what are you going to do? Are you going to stop Eren?" I really like the John here because Armin is always saying, "Oh, look, I couldn't imagine to reach this point. I couldn't imagine this. I couldn't imagine that." So what you're going to do? Find a solution. Do something instead of just thinking things like this. I mean, I can put myself in Armin's position and think, oh wow, I've always thought that Eren was my friend, and look where we are going right now. Look what we are doing right now. But at the same time, I am thinking, Armin, come on, open your eyes. There's nothing else to do rather than start finding a solution. So instead of being surprised of what's going to happen right now in front of your eyes, just try to find a solution because there's no other way. So I really liked John's question. It was really logical. It was rational. So what you're going to do now? Are you going to stop Eren? Because 2 seconds before you were saying that Eren was saving us, and you were happy because Eren was a Nakama. So what you're going to do now? Are you going to sacrifice your life to protect the rest of the world? Are you going to do what Zeke was supposed to do actually? Because that was the thing, to sacrifice the Yumiro no Tami in order to save the rest of the world. So I like John's mind because even if he is pretty confused, he's saying something that is the truth. Um, then the rest of the things that John is saying is totally correct too. When he's saying Eren wanted to protect us from the plans of Zeke, as much as he wanted to protect Historia by inheriting the Shisono Kyojin. So he was sacrificing himself for this, and he was sacrificing also himself for the sake of us. Um, and over there is this epiphany of John, in which he's realizing. I mean, he realized already Eren's plan before, but he was realizing Eren's plan more and more in this moment, when he was understanding, Eren is sacrificing humanity because of us. And over there was a moment. I mean, he was also saying, we are the people who are going to benefit from all this. That means what I told you last week, something crazy, because if we put ourselves in their position, the world is destroyed because of me. The world is destroyed because I have to survive. The world is destroyed because of one single person or few single people. Wow. Am I going to handle the guilt or the regret that I'm going to feel for the rest of my life? How should I behave for the rest of my life? Should I repent myself because I was born? Because actually, this was happening because they were born. So is Zeke right by saying, it was better if we were not born? I still believe no. I still believe that what Zeke is thinking is totally wrong. But I can feel what John is feeling right now by thinking something like this, because definitely when they will survive, they will feel something like this. They will feel, oh, we are safe right now, yeah, but the rest of the world collapsed because of us. So, but definitely then there is this scene of the sunset in part one that is one of the most memorable scenes, in my opinion, because over there you see Eren's face. He already saw some things from the rambling already, so you know that he saw what he's going to create. But you see his face that is a sad face. And once again, Eren knows the pain that he's going to cause. Eren is well aware of the fact that he's going to start the rambling in that moment of the sunset scene. But those people are more important than the rest of the world. So the rest of the world doesn't mean anything to him if this means that he has to save these people. So the will, the intention that Eren has, that can regard the Shingeki no Kyojin, but it can also not regard the Shingeki no Kyojin, but because he was born like this. Anyway, his will, his intention, his love, his protection is more important than the rest of the world. And nothing is going to change this. I mean, Eren will fulfill his mission until we will understand how Eren is going to be stopped by his friends. What's going to happen? And at what point the rambling will be reached. But anyway, there is this dualism of Eren that, okay, can't be accepted, can't be understood, but it exists. It's the character that is like this. So it can't be helped. We can't do anything to change that character. And that doesn't mean that he is not a great character. I want to say this once again. Eren is a great character. But now that John is remembering that scene, makes you understand how they feel later. And I really wanted to praise Mappa here over and over again because Mappa here is creating a great silence in the background while we are seeing their eyes that are delusional. I mean, sad, delusional, painful. I mean, they are feeling pain, suffering, and whatsoever. So these eyes are telling us that these characters already know what they are going to do. They know that things can't go back as before. And this is a great departure because Eren will not be back as before. This time they can't save Eren. This time Eren can't come back to them. This time they have to defeat him. And this is the moment in which they split forever. So that's why I felt pretty emotional in during the reaction because in this episode they understand that their emotions have to be put aside and they have to react. This is pretty painful because I don't even want to imagine the moment in which Mikasa has to kill Eren. I don't even want to imagine this because this will be so painful. And if I cried in this episode, I don't want to imagine how much I will cry in that moment. Maybe I will be at the cinema, so I will cry by not being seen by anybody because I will be surrounded by darkness. But okay, it would be pretty painful, definitely. But I really liked that Mappa decided to put this huge silence after that sunset scene because there is nothing else to say. There is just a silence that can speak for themselves. And silence could speak instead of words, and that was the perfect choice. But this silence is interrupted by this explosion because they are seeing that the normal titans inside of Shiganshina, they keep attacking. I mean, they are not stopped. So we need to remember that these titans were transformed by Zeke. So my thing is, Eren can't stop Zeke's power. I mean, the fact that Zeke was transforming these titans makes you understand that him, by being a royal blood, can't be stopped by Eren's Shiso no Kyojin. It could be. In fact, they are just these titans who were transformed by the scream of Zeke that they can't be stopped, or they can't. They that means Armin, Mikas, and all the others can't prevent them to stop attacking Shiganshina. So does this mean that is because of Zeke and the fact that his scream can't be changed or modified by something else or somebody else because he is coming from the royal bloodline? So does this mean that his plan actually is going ahead because even if it's not the main plan he had anyway, these people in paradise are going to be destroyed by these common titans. So we still have to understand where Zeke is, actually, because we saw him disappearing by being surrounded by these external part of this creature. I mean, this spinal fluid that was coming out of between Eren's head and the rest of his body. But I'm pretty sure that Zeke is still alive, and that's why these titans, these normal titans, can still go ahead. Because if Zeke was dead, all these titans were stopped automatically because they were followed by Zeke's command. So Zeke is still there. We still don't know where, but he is still there. Or maybe because just the titans with intelligence. They can be controlled by Eren, and the fact that these colossal titans inside of the walls are colossals anyway, it means that it can be guided while the normal titans can't. This could be an option, but I still prefer to follow the first option that I told you. That means there's Zeke here involved, and maybe by being from the royal blood, he can't. He Eren can't control them somehow. Even if it's quite strange, because by having the Shisono Kyoji in power, he should be able to control all of them. But maybe this is one of the other things that Eren doesn't know. I mean, you need to remember that Zeke, while staying inside this dimension of the paths, he was saying that he was learning a lot of things, that he was getting in touch with lots of info. And even in the previous episode, we hear that Zeke is saying, I'm pretty sure to Eren, I'm pretty sure that you don't know all things. For example, the fact that in this dimension of the paths, you can't control the Shisono Kyojin as much as you want. So, as you can see, Zeke knows many other things that Eren doesn't. So, is this another thing that Eren didn't know? That means that he couldn't control the normal titans that we saw that they are attacking Shiganshina? Maybe. And then Mikasa is asking, what do we do about Falco? Well, what else can we do? That means to choose his destiny. And at this point, I'm asking myself, who are they to choose his destiny? So, as you can see, in this story, this will to mind your own business only, it's not finished. In Shingeki no Kyojin, the way in which this story is powerful, it's also because of this. Because no matter the situation in which we are, there are still people who keep thinking about what's good for them. Like in the case of Connie, for example, or even John, while he is explaining what they should do, etc., etc., etc. So everything that is convenient for themselves only. This is one of the most amazing subjects of this story. And even if we reach the episode 81, we are still thinking something like this. No matter the sides, I mean, no matter if it's a paradise, no matter if it's the other side of the ocean, everyone is thinking about his or her own business, his or his personal intents. And this doesn't have to be forgotten, because if we forget this, we forget even the main thing of this story. So that's why this episode is really important. And then we are reaching the moment in which we have to decide Falco's destiny. Don't you remember something? Season 3, Part 2. Should we decide Erwin or Armin? Other people who are going to choose for others. In that case, Levi had to choose which one, Erwin or Armin. Here, we have to choose who's going to eat Falco. That is the same thing. Was it Connie's mom or was it Pixie's? The same thing of Season 3, Part 2. What should we do? Who's going to eat Bertold, Erwin or Armin? So this is a thing. And even in that case, in Season 3, Part 2, we were in Shiganshina. So this is like a curse, because it's happening the same thing in the same place. And they are on top of the roof, as much as in Season 3, Part 2, when they have to decide if it's Erwin or Armin. This curse that is repeating, this leitmotif of the scene that is the same. Sorry. But even in that case, they had to save somebody for the sake of a paradise, as much as in Season 3, Part 2. Wow. This choice of the author to repeat the scenes all over again, as if this story is a pure curse. And this curse is for the Yumiru no Tami. because Falco is a Yumi no Tami, Connie's mom is a Yumi no Tami, Pix is a Yumi no Tami, Levi at that time in season 3 part 2 was a Yumi no Tami, deciding for Erwin who was a Yumi no Tami, or Armin who was, or who still is a Yumi no Tami, to eat Bertold, a Yumi no Tami. So as you can see, unfortunately, this story is Yumiro no Tami who are eating Yumiro no Tami. So this curse of Yumiro no Tami is going ahead. And it's pretty painful because it's all about them. I mean, you don't see a Marlian who is doing or who is going to be eaten because of the sake of Yumiro no Tami. No, they are always Yumiro no Tami who are going to eat Yumiro no Tami for the sake of Yumiro no Tami. This is crazy if you think about it. But this connection, yeah, between season 3, part 2 was obvious. I repeat you this, even the fact that they were on top of the roof is the same. That was scary because we are repeating the same thing. And even this theme of sacrificing people for the sake of others, this characteristic that we saw already in Ymir in the previous episode. Wow. Oh, and then we open a bracket about Connie. Wow. I've never expected this in this episode, but I mean, what Connie is doing is wrong, but I understand Connie somehow. He wants to save his mom. And listen, if I put myself in his position, I would also like to save my mom. I can't tell you the contrary, to be honest. I want to be honest with you. If my mama was in that condition, I would have liked to save her. And this is pretty cruel to say, but I don't want to condemn Connie in this case because he is feeling pain for 4 years too. And the fact that his mama can't move and she's in that condition is making me feel so painful. But if we see things from another perspective, Connie, you are selfish. Yes, because human beings are selfish. As much as I was telling you for Eren, this goes for Connie too. That's his personal interest to save his mom no matter what. And he would have done everything in his power to do so, even if this means to let his mom eat a boy, a little boy. This is selfishness. This is cruelty. This is a way to show you how the world can be cruel. If you wanted to save your personal interests only, and this is one of the typical characteristics of human beings, because no matter the subject, no matter the context, even in our real life, okay, no, we are not talking about cannibalism, of course. I'm talking about different other types of contexts, okay? We, human beings, wanted to preserve our personal interests first. This is absolutely true. And this is one of our sins. This is how we are weak. But Armin is against this idea because he's saying, look, if we are going to do something like this to Falco, there is the chance that Reiner, Peak, and all the others are going to start a new war against us. And in this case, there is no guarantee that we can win because look at the situation we are now. So if there is another war starting, it's damaging us instead of helping us. But he is also trying, Armin, and I really admire him for this. He is trying to let him change his mind. I mean, to let him change Connie's mind about this, because anyway, it's pretty cruel to do something like this, especially to Falco. That I wanted to open a bracket. Falco, I really love this character, as you all know, and Falco was a little bit different because After he got in touch with the Paradise, he was one of the first characters, even before Gabi, of course, to understand what was going on in this world. So the fact that he was going to be eaten, it was pretty painful, and I hope that this is not going to happen. But yeah, Armin was trying his best to erase this option, also because they were getting in touch with Falco and they were knowing, they were seeing that he was somebody different. And it was really painful to sacrifice a person that could spread hope in the future. But then I agree with Connie because he's saying, are you telling me that my mother doesn't mean anything? Oh, this is correct. As much as Falco matters, even Connie's mother matters. And of course, you can't change Connie's mind because it's his mom. How can he prefer Falco instead of his mom? This is something crazy to think because Connie's mom is the dearest person of Connie. And as much as we understand all the characters who wants to protect their dear people only because they are selfish, because they already make a sort of discrimination, as I was telling you already, we ourselves, by choosing some people in this, even in this real world, we are discriminating others because we prefer to love some people instead of others. We prefer to have a boyfriend instead of all the other men. We prefer to have a best friends instead of all the other people that can become our best friends too. We make a decision, we make a distinction by putting tags in life. We make a distinction, so we already make a discrimination, a sort of discrimination, preferring by preferring some friends instead of other people, by preferring our husbands, our wives, our boyfriends, our girlfriends instead of others, by preferring our parents instead of others. So this is selfishness. So we can't expect that Connie is going to save or to prefer Falco instead of his mom. It's impossible to think. No matter how hypocrite we can be to say, but poor kid, Connie should have preferred Falco to save Falco instead of his mom. Oh, come on. Are you going to tell me that you don't want to save your mom? I don't believe so. I really don't believe so. So if I put myself in Connie's position, and when he's saying, does this mean that my mother doesn't mean anything? Oh, from his point of view, he's right. He's defending a person he loves as much as Eren is protecting the people he loves, especially as much as Gabi is protecting the people she loves, as much as Falco himself was trying to protect the person he loves. Everyone here in this story is trying to protect the people he or she loves. So we can't condemn Connie for the same reason. I mean, from Connie's perspective, when Armin is saying, no, no, let's not do so because la 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 la, everyone, this is what I think that Connie is thinking, everyone is ready to save the others, but when it's becoming part of their personal interests, the war scene and stuff like that, who cares? Come on, let's do as I say. No. And then we should understand Connie's mentality right now. Because Connie, because of Eren, in his opinion, he already lost Sasha. And he, especially recently, he decided to accept this because he decided to help Eren at the end of the day. But he lost Sasha because of Eren and his personal interests. So now is he going to lose his mom too because of Armin's decision? That's really tough. If and only if we put in Connie's position, and we should do this. Because in order to understand the Connie's character, we have to do something like this. And then Connie, always from Connie's point of view, why Connie has to listen to what other people are deciding for him? Always other people are deciding for him, his life, what he has to do, where he has to go. Why for one time he can't choose what to do? Also from this point of view, Connie is correct. If we stay on Connie's side, if we put ourselves in Connie's position. And then when he is saying, do you know how does it feel to go back to that village for 4 years straight and see my mother in that position and not being able to do anything to change things? Once again, this is the same thing that Eren was doing to Levi when he had to choose between Erwin and Armin. At that time, Eren was taking Levi like this and saying, you were telling me that you were supposed to save Armin, so now you have to do so. Connie was having the same intensity right now when he's grabbing Armin like this, and he's saying, "Do you know what does it feel to go back to that village over and over again, and being and feeling useless because I can't change my mother's condition forever." Armin was the new Levi in this situation, and Connie was the new Eren, like a season 3, part 2, when they had to decide what to do. And this is pretty sad because they are put in a condition in which they are hopeless and in which human beings have to turn cruel by choosing what to do with other human beings. That's why, guys, that's why this world doesn't deserve to go ahead. Also for this reason. Because it's too cruel. No matter the beauty, let's try to prevent the beauty. But Eren's beauty is Mikasa, okay? That is already a proof of selfishness. This world is so cruel. And right now the world's cruelty is like this and the beauty of the world is like this, so it's unbalanced. But even in that case, Connie was going against Armin, and against even John, let's say. And if we see something like this, Connie was inferior than John because John was about to command all of them later. So it's like when Eren was going against Levi and Levi was superior than him. So as you can see, even these positions of roles, that is creating this connection with the season 3 part 2, that was really great in my opinion. And Connie is saying, don't stop me from saving my mom. That is the same thing Eren was saying to Levi in season 3 part 2. I wanted to save Armin. Don't stop me from doing this. This is the same. That means don't stop me from saving the people I love the most. Because I was already losing Sasha. So don't let me lose even my mom. So in this case, guys, I can't tell you who's right and who's wrong. Because everyone from his or her own perspective is right, but it's also wrong at the same time. So we can't condemn, we can't judge one and prefer the other one. But everyone is following this painful process. That means let's save only the people we love. The other people, who cares? Because for us, the most important thing is the people we love. And this is a way in which the world is cruel. Yes, yes. Then we switch the scene because Yelena, oh, look, Yelena is completely disillusioned. Zeke is not a god, but who's going to lose is a man. And for Yelena, this is like a world that is, yes, slipped away, that is falling apart. Her convictions are falling apart too, because Yelena, for the first time, is saying that a person like Zeke, who was supposed to be a god, is losing, is failing. And for Yelena, this is the end of her existence, because she was following this existence of herself based on the fact that she was saved by Zeke. Zeke was supposed to be idolized or anyway worshipped. Zeke was the savior of her life, so she has to be devoted for him, to him. Sorry, but this will to worship a person has lots of risks, because by not being a god, it means that he can win, but he can also lose. But in Yelena's opinion, this was not possible. The only thing that was possible was for Zeke to win, to fulfill his plan. And she, by devoting herself to this man, was spending her rest of her existence by believing so. So by seeing that Zeke is failing, it's like as if her own existence is meaningless, as if everything that she was doing so far was nothing, was a waste of time. And in fact, I really liked how we see this character changing too, because she's starting by saying, now I am in front of the heaven on earth because the two Jaegers are going to become the gods of the world. And some episodes later, we see the mess. So we see a person who is really convinced, and even in this case, guys, once again, people who are too convinced are going to fail. This can regard Yelena, but this can regard even Eren, because Eren is so convinced based on what he saw from the future. But later, he is going to understand that maybe this way to be convinced is a great failure for him too. And his beliefs that everything was good to do like this can be can turn upside down and can create a sort of disillusion too. As much as Grisha was having a disillusion because he was believing lots of things, and he was so sure that everything was going like this, as much as he was so sure by reading those books and being sure that Ymir was a goddess and stuff like that, and everything can confirm the contrary. So when you see that, or even Zeke, who was totally convinced that he was having the control of everything, but then he didn't have any control. So, as you can see, people who are really convinced of everything are also the same people who are going to fail immediately, sooner or after. So, the greatness of this story is teaching you that you shouldn't be convinced of anything until you see these things in front of your eyes, because that's the real evidence. The only evidence that you can have is based on what you can really see. The rest of the things are just ideas, ideals, or thoughts, theories. But these theories can become an evidence just if you can prove them. And what happened to Yelena was this: she was convinced until she saw the proof, the evidence of everything that she thought that it was a mistake. The disillusion. And then we see a great comparison with the season one. By the moment in which we see that these soldiers are so afraid, You see the terror in their eyes. That, I want to open a bracket, is the same terror not just in season one that we see in season one, when these soldiers of the military forces, they wanted to hide even under the tables because they are so afraid. And in that scene, it was yeah, I think it was yes, I think episode 8 of season 1, or episode 7, one of the two. But it reminds me also of the terror that you see in season 4, episode 1, when these Yumiro no Tami, that they are going to war in order to protect Marley, they are fearing the war. And you see these fear in their eyes. And even in this case, it's always Yumiro no Tami that has to suffer, that has to create these terror surrounding them, and they are the cursed ones. So I really like. Even the same terror, not just of season 1, season 4, part 1, but even season 2, when there was a Girdo that was having this terror by looking at this titan who was about to eat him. So these seasons, okay, many people say, this was just a tribute to season 1. No, it's a tribute to the entire Shingeki no Kyojin, or it's a tribute to Paradise in general, because Paradise is always the main setting here. It's the setting in which everything is happening. So more than a tribute to season 1, I wanted to say that it's a tribute to all seasons. It's a tribute to Paradise and the destruction inside Paradise. But anyway, yeah, these military forces that are hiding because they don't know what to do, because they feel the Titans coming still. Yeah, it could be season 1 for sure, but even the other things that I told you. And once again, we remark the sentence of episode 1, season 1, the fear to be oppressed by them. That you can see it from their eyes, actually. And then there is this same hole in the wall of this building that is created, that if we compare it with the season 1, I mean, it's like creating a sort of loop, because of the same scene, the same context, the same setting, everything was the same. So it's like a sort of a curse. Once again, I say this. But if we compare this same scene with season 1, at that time, John was in front of this mm, big hole in the wall of this building, while in this season we see the other people who were supposed to join the Chosa Heidan later, having the same facial expression, more or less. I mean, at that time, John was pretty insecure. John didn't know what to do with his destiny, with his choice. In fact, he didn't even want to join Chosa Heidan. But we see the evolution of this character too. John's evolution is pretty amazing, and you see that everything that he is doing is because of a promise. So I'm going to talk to you about later. But yeah, at that time when the wall is broken and John is over there facing the Titans, oh my! See, it's something hilarious, because now is John is the same person who is guiding everyone against those Titans. So this way in which this evolution was well detected was simply amazing. And you needed to remember that everything that Isayama is doing is not a coincidence. No, all the scenes that you see, they matter because they are reflecting an evolution of a character, for example, or the way in which things didn't change at all. Because, as I told you, we are in the same setting, with the same people, in the same context, the same scene. I mean, you have to match these two things, the evolution, or the things that changed, plus the things that they didn't change because they stay the same. So this is marvelous. The way in which these two things are combined are simply amazing. Then for a second we move from another scene. Yes, many people were asking me, "Did you realize that that was Nile?" Yes, I realized that that was Nile. Or when people are saying, "Oh, you were saying that that was awesome, but poor Nile." No, I was not saying that that scene was awesome because Nile was defeated or because Nile was shot by Gabi. No, I was saying that that was awesome for something else. And now I'm going to explain that to you. But anyway, Nile as a Titan is following Sasha's family, and of course Kaya. We see that Kaya is falling. Oh, oh my! And of course, this is a parallel with the season 2, episode 2, when all these things are repeating, and the same scene in which, of course, at that time Sasha was trying to save Kaya, and here instead we see Gabi saving Kaya. But I wanted to go step by step because this loop of these things that are repeating have a difference now. But at the same time, I wanted to say also this: Nile. If you remember, Nile was the one who saved Falco, was also the one who was saying, this is not a place for kids. And as a paradox, Nile as a Titan who wants to kill a girl. I mean, who wants to eat Kaya, who is a girl. This thing that is turning upside down because of him becoming a Titan. As if you follow the Dante and the Divine Comedy, you know that in hell there is the contrappasso. Il contrappasso is the bad things that happen that you did in life. In hell, they are going these things to happen to you. In this case, Nile didn't want to harm kids because they had to be saved. But in this case, as a Titan, the only thing he wants to do is to eat, no matter if they are kids or not. And in this case, he wants to kill Kaya. So this is a sort of a contrappasso from Dante, and this is super amazing. Once again, I wanted to say this, that all the literature references, all the philosophical references, all the mythological references in this story are making all the religious features in this story are creating this story as a masterpiece, no matter the ending. I don't care about how the ending will be. This story is already a masterpiece. But anyway, Kaya is saying, "Save me, sis. I mean, save me, One-chan. Tasukete, One-chan." If you go back to season 2, episode 2, that is the same thing that I did 2 days before when I was writing my notes. So you know that I like to jump, I mean, to go back into previous episodes to check a few details, to check some stuff. You need to remember what Sasha told her. And at that time, of course, Sasha was referring to the moment in which Kaya was starting running, and she was trying to find somebody who could rescue her. But if we reanalyze that sentence now, it makes sense because Sasha, at that time, when she was asking Kaya to run away, she was saying, "Don't worry, somebody will be there to help you. Maybe you will not be able to find it soon, I mean, sooner after, but it will happen. Don't worry." Those sentences, if you read them now, they have a meaning that goes beyond everything because, of course, Kaya now is in a hard situation. Sasha is not there anymore, but there will be somebody who will come to save her. And even if that thing didn't happen immediately, I open a bracket, Gabi was going against Kaya throughout all the time.
It will happen somehow. And in fact, in this episode, it happened. Kaya was saved by the same person who was condemning her many episodes before. Kaya was saved by a person even if she thought that she was not. And this was so amazing because of those words of her sister were the words that were proper in this scene. So when we see Shingeki no Kyojin, we have to go back in time. We have to analyze everything that happened even before, because it's thanks to those previous scenes that we can understand where the author wants to go, what the author wants to reach as a goal. So this was amazing. Gabi is saving her, and she's also saying, Kaya, stand up, as much as with the same intensity as when Sasha was saying, run away! I told you to run away! So this same intensity and the way in which Kaya, it's like as if she's seeing her sister once again over there. That was so meaningful, so powerful, and so beautiful. This was amazing. When I'm saying in the reaction video that this was amazing or this is awesome, this is awesome. Not the fact that Nile wants to eat Kaya or that Nile is killed by Gabi. No, it's this that is awesome. The way in which the author was exchanging things for better. Um, and another thing is that Sasha at that time, season 2, episode 2, she was pointing at the eye of the Titan, because by not seeing, by not be able to see, the Titan couldn't eat her. As much as Gabi this time is pointing at the Nile's mouth, because if she is reaching the mouth, and this, thanks to this weapon, she can trespass the throat, she can reach the neck, and the Titan can't eat her anymore, and she can be saved. So, as you can see, this contraposition even on the techniques, both Sasha and Gabi are using in a different way, but the purpose, I mean, the result is always the same, to save Kaya. So, this was really awesome too. And other things that we can compare that can make Gabi and Sasha similar, is the same movements, because even when Sasha was doing to the Titan with the arrow like this, she was jumping as much as Gabi is jumping by shooting thanks to that weapon. So the same movements, the same determination and strength in their eyes that you can detect and makes you understand that I'm able to do the impossible to save the people that I care. This is so great. The same will to save the dear people you want to save. Both Sasha and Kaya had this strength, these great values, and this great will inside their hearts that made them become stronger and stronger in the same moment that they had to be. Then they have the same hairstyle. Yeah, it's not a coincidence, guys. It's not a coincidence. Even Sasha had the ponytail somehow, or anyway, her hair up, as much as Gabi has her hair up. And we all know that Gabi is putting her hair up like this because of her reasons. But Isayama is so genius to put the same sort of hairstyle in that moment. And yeah, so Kaya has the vision of Sasha, but and of course it's so painful to watch that moment, because you know how much Kaya was dear to Sasha and wanted to become like her. I'm pretty sure that that person who was supposed to save Kaya arrived. That means Gabi, and this is so great. But it's like as if when she's having that vision of Sasha that is turning like this and it's looking at her, it's like as if she wants to transfer to Kaya this info. I was killed by her. I mean, I, Sasha, was killed by Gabi. But now she, Gabi, understood lots of things. And now Gabi really loves you. So if we translate all this, it means my death was not in vain. It's because of my death that Gabi could reach paradise. It's because of my death that Gabi could get in touch with the paradise people. And it's thanks to my death that Gabi could change her mind. It's thanks to me and my death that Gabi could understand that those in paradise were not demons. So my sacrifice, my death was not in vain. And even if it's cruel to say because I really loved Sasha, but her death was making a difference. Without her death, probably, I mean, if Gabi didn't reach the Zeppelin that day and didn't kill her, she couldn't feel the remorse later when she was joining her family. She couldn't feel the difference of her thoughts, her brainwashed thoughts with the reality by reaching paradise. So everything has a consequence. And that's why Gabi was able to go ahead and to go out from this brainwash thing that happened to her, and that cage was able to be opened so the bird could fly independently. Because Gabi, since the moment that she joined the Zeppelin, she was not following the orders anymore. She was free of thinking. She was free to follow her instincts. And no matter if she killed Sasha, since that moment that she joined the Zeppelin, she was becoming free because by doing this, she was able to reach paradise and to dig inside her feelings and change. So, sorry that I say this, but at this point, we should thank Eren. Gabi, you should thank Eren because if Eren didn't attack Liberio, you would have not been able to reach the Zeppelin. You would have not been able to reach Paradise. And maybe at this point, you would have had the same thoughts as before. You would think that Paradise were the evil to be exterminated. You would think other things, but now it's thanks to that attack in Liberio, and it's a paradox to say it, it's something ironically speaking, but it's hilarious to say it. It's thanks to that attack in Liberio that, I mean, Gabi, you have always hated Eren, but at this point you should thank him because now you understood even the importance that Falco has in your life. You understood that those were not devils, but they were just people suffering as much as you. So the Eren that is the enemy was also your salvation somehow. And this is crazy if you think something like this. So this author is putting you in front of you the evidence that without a certain events, there was not the creation of something beautiful. So the world, yes, it's cruel, but it's also really beautiful because it's a thanks to that cruel event, such as death, as much as Liberio's attack, that Gabi could become free of thoughts, free of thinking, free to be independent, free to act, free to say whatever she wanted, and things like this. The beauty of the world. So, wow, this is a journey. And immediately after, Gabi, is in a difficult situation once again because these Paradise military forces are seeing that she's having this weapon from Marley, of course, and they start suspecting the fact that she is from Marley. she's infiltrated. And once again, the greatness of Kaya, that after she said so many bad things about Gabi, she wanted to kill her. I mean, in season 4, part 1, she really wanted to kill her. In season 4, part 2, she was saying throughout the window, Gabi could hear it. I still want to kill her. But the greatness of this character, that is a secondary character, that makes you understand that you can change your mind once again and you can make a difference once again. Kaya was saving her because she was saved. So, can the world solve this thing in a different way instead of the rumbling? At this point, yes, it could be. I mean, here we see that Gabi was saving her, and of course, Kaya is saving her as a feedback, right? So, if the rumbling didn't start and people could have created a dialogue, or they could, or even Marley people could have been saved by Paradise somehow, maybe even Marley could have changed their mind. Are they going to change their mind? I mean, by the fact that Mikasa, Armin, and all the others have to defeat Eren, okay, who is the main target, who is going to destroy the rest of the world, if these Paradise people are going to save the rest of the world by killing Eren, is the rest of the world going to change their mind about Paradise if some of them are going to survive? Because we have to think also the fact that if Mikasa is going to kill Eren, even the rumbling is stopped, so maybe some people from the other side of the world, few people, can still survive, right? So what about in that case? In that case, is it going to happen the same thing that is happening with between Kaya and Gabi right now? I mean, if I'm going to save you, you're going to save me because you changed your mind about me, who was considered as a devil since 2 seconds before. It could be, but this thing in this case couldn't happen because without the rumbling thing, people would have not changed their mind, not all of them. So as you can see, it's like as if in this story we need the violence in order to understand things. And I wanted to reconduct myself with what Ken is saying, that violence is the absolute truth here in this story. Yes. Because it's always thanks to violence that things can change, unfortunately. So, what Armin is saying, yes, it could be really nice to change the world by using the dialogue, by spreading it. But at the same time, we understand that even Gabi changed her mind because of violence, because she committed a murder. And without that, she couldn't change her mind. It was a really difficult or even impossible, because you needed to remember that Falco kept trying to change her mind thanks to a dialogue. But he didn't make it. It was pretty impossible until she reached the evidence in front of her eyes, until she murdered. She could realize the difference and she could change her mind. So, as you can see, it's really utopistic to say, oh, yeah, we can change the world with the dialogue. But then between words and facts, there is a huge difference, okay? And you should keep this in mind. The fact that even by doing this, there is the risk that people can't change their mind. Even when Willy Taiba was making this sort of a festival, people were just believing what they were hearing and not what they were seeing. And even if they saw this, I mean, I don't think that if Paradise people were going instead of a Willy Taiba over there in the festival and saying, look, we are from Paradise, we are normal people like you, please accept us, let's have a dialogue. I don't think that the rest of the world wanted to do so. So that's what I'm saying. It's pretty hard to change the world and turn it upside down like this with a dialogue. No. Usually, and unfortunately, because this is what all people hope, to change the world with a dialogue. But even in our real world, can we change the world with a dialogue only? I don't think so. Unfortunately, humanity is changing his, her, their own opinions based on what the violent and cruel can happen before. It's only thanks to violence, unfortunately, I remark this, that people are changing their mind. It's a thanks to catastrophical events, unfortunately, that humanity is ready to learn or to understand that they were wrong. So even in this case, Gabi changed her mind on Kaya or changed her mind on Paradise only after violence, not before. Because before, many people tried to change her mind, but it was not possible. So Kaya made a great job by saying, "We are family." Wow, this is a powerful statement. Something that her family in Liberio were not telling her. I mean, her family in Liberio, no matter if she cares or not, but her family in Liberio, they were proud of her just for the fact that she was going to war. But in the end, she was not protected by war. She was sent to war. But here, Kaya is protecting her by being killed by something dangerous that can happen to her. That is totally different. And that's why Gabi feels surrounded by love for the real first time. Okay, no, not just the first time, because even Sasha's dad already proved her. I mean, let's say in Paradise, Gabi could find what does it feel to be loved for real and cared. She understood that adults wanted to protect her instead of sending her to war. And this is a huge difference, let me tell you. No matter how much she thinks that she was loved by her parents in Liberio, here in Paradise, she could taste the meaning of love. She could feel it. She had lots of proofs that she was cared, that some people, even if they were strangers, they were considering her part of their family. Something that on the other side was not happening at all. And this already can create a huge difference in Gabi, even in season 4, part 1. But here, he's even more intense because Kaya is saying, "We are a family." And she's saying it out loud without being ashamed of saying this. This is so powerful. And does this mean that Kaya is accepting Gabi as her sister? Yes, somehow, because by having that vision of Sasha, it was like as if even Sasha would have been proud of her to behave in the same way she would have done, actually. So Kaya, who really wanted to be like One-chan, who really wanted to be like Sasha, she is doing so by accepting somebody who is fragile. And I wanted to remark this. Sasha, when there was the attack on Liberio, she didn't kill Gabi. She killed just the guard. And that guard was an adult, first of all. It was a guard confining other Yumiru no Tami. And third of all, she was not attacking kids. And this makes you understand that Sasha would have behaved the same in this context. She would have protected the most fragile people, that means the kids, and she would have protected Gabi no matter what. In fact, after shooting the guard, Sasha is looking at Gabi, but she's not shooting. She could have had the chance. If she was really mean, she would have done it, but she refused to do so. So Kaya, who really wanted to be like Sasha, is taking a great inspiration from her One-chan, and she is turning like her. That means protect somebody fragile, somebody who is in a hard situation over there. So, Kaya, don't worry. Sasha would have been so proud of you right now. Um, um, and then another person to praise here is Nicolo. because even Niccolo, who was supposed to kill her in part one, who was supposed to give to these revengeful thoughts the um, all the actions, I mean, to turn these meanful, revengeful thoughts into actions by killing Gabi, Niccolo too is making a great difference here. And Sasha would be so proud of him too, because he has found his answers. And I think that what Niccolo is saying even later regarding the forest is so great. And that's why I think that this episode is not an episode of a transition. This episode is meaningful too. But Niccolo is having a great evolution too, as much as Kaya is having an evolution based on you saved us, we are going to save you now. So these peaceful thoughts that can be combined, that can match, but that can happen only after a violence, after a moment of violence, not without. This is how the world is. Not just the Shingeki no Kyojin world, but even our real world is like this. It's only after a catastrophe that human beings are creating that human beings are able to understand their mistakes, or they are able to understand where they were wrong. It's not correct to do. It's not something good to do, but it's how this world, the world we are living, and the world of Shingeki no Kyojin rules. And it's a matter of fact. It's always going like this. Mm. And even Sasha's dead once again, so great. These are the people who are the hope for the future. These are the adults that can help the kids go out from the forest. And even when he's saying, look, Mia, he's still calling her Mia, when we already know that her name is Gabi, but he likes to call her as much as the time in which they spent together. He's so great because Sasha's dad is a pure and kind heart. And the fact that he keeps calling her Mia is so pure. I mean, it's so. I really like Sasha's dad. Because if Sasha's dad could be the ruler of the world, now the world would have been saved already. Okay? But if all people could be like Sasha's dad in the world would have been saved. But the problem is that they are not all like Sasha's dad. There are also people who are against all these. And because we are all different. So it's impossible to change all the rest of the world's mind. It's impossible. You can change just half of it or a quarter of it. But the entire world, to change it, it's impossible because they are all different human beings. Until there will be difference in human beings, there will also be a different way to solve things or a different result. Mm, and at this point, even if he says, stay with us, Mia, until we are able to find the Falco and then you can go. No, I hope that she and Falco will be able to stay with them. I mean, I hope that Sasha's dad is going to adopt even Gabi and Falco in the future. That would be so great because this is the closure of a circle. And I think that Gabi and Falco should live with them. So Kaya can live with her new sister. This would be so amazing. And then this great dialogue that Kaya and Gabi are having that is cruel because here we have two girls talking about murders, talking about violence, talking about all this stuff. Crazy. But anyway, why did you defend me? The same thing goes to you. Why did you defend me? You you already risked your life to do so. Sa, that means who knows why. I tried to kill you. Am I a demon, right? No, I am the demon. I killed lots of people. And when she's saying something like this, Gabi is touching here, her arm, because over there was the armband, and that armband was a curse on her, and it was also the way in which she could introduce herself to the world. Hey, hello, I'm Gabi. I'm going to inherit the armor titan. I am a killer. Hello. These, the way in which Gabi, in that moment when she's saying, I killed lots of people, and she's touching her arm, it's like as if it's a deep wound that is still open, and it's creating lots of pain because she knows that she caused lots of troubles, she caused lots of suffering, and she was like a god deciding, pretending to deciding who was going to survive and who was not going to survive. This was something abominous that, of course, we can condemn the same thing to Eren in this moment, because he is deciding who's going to survive and who's not going to survive. He is putting himself in the position of a god. You all know that I don't like people who wanted to pretend to be god. In this case, in the case of Eren, I already talked to you hours and hours last week, so you can go and check it out. In this case, Eren is pretending to be a god on Earth, as much as Lelouch was doing in Code Geass, as much as Yagami was doing in Death Note, and all these sort of characters who think that they have the power, the enough power to decide for others. And in this case, Eren is not so different from Zeke, because even Zeke was deciding what to do with the Yujiro no Tami. In this case, Eren is deciding what to do with the rest of the world. And I was also talking to you about Nietzsche and these Superman on Earth that was coming out after these concept of the god is dead. God is dead, and that's why there is this concept of the Superman who is having God inside himself. That means everyone can be God. Mm, but okay, in this case, unfortunately, Eren is choosing power because he thinks that through power he can reach his goal to save the people he loves, to save Yujiro no Tami, by sacrificing himself by doing so, etc., etc., etc. But this reflects what Frida was saying. That means as soon as a human being is getting in touch with this immense power, this human being is becoming weak. And it's too weak to handle this power. And in fact, we saw that. But actually, this power is coming from a sort of goddess, even if she was not, because she was just a human being. That means Ymir, who was the creator of everything. So, as I was telling you last week, it's not Eren who is destroying the world. Eren is a container. The person who wanted to destroy the world after 2,000 years of slavery, after 2,000 years of a curse and whatsoever, is Ymir. So we should give the fault to Ymir at this point, because she decided to give this power following her free will, and by transferring what she is, her immense power, to a container that can make this turn from impossible to possible. This container is Eren. But Eren is a container. Eren is not the power. The power is coming from Ymir. So Ymir, by opening her eyes and be like this, she was destroying the world. She is deciding to destroy the world. We shouldn't forget this. Eren is just giving his own body to do so, but it's not the same. You shouldn't forget this at all. But anyway, going back to what I was saying during this dialogue between Gabi and Kaya, she's touching her armband, so she knows that she's feeling guilty for everything she did and she was doing so far. No, I was the demon. I killed lots of people so that the people were praising me. There is a demon inside of me. But if we check how Gabi was before, I mean, before Gabi was so happy, was so proud of herself. Yeah, let me kill them because I can prove my loyalty to Marley. I can save my family by doing so, etc., etc., etc. So if we see the difference between Gabi at the beginning and Gabi now, oh, there is a huge difference. Even by admitting there is a demon inside of me. But the great thing that Niccolo is saying is that everyone is a Akuma no Ko. Everyone is the child of the devil because everyone is having a demon inside of themselves. As much as in the real life, our personality is based on good qualities and bad qualities. We have this contrast. And sometimes many people are saying there's a demon inside of me. I can hear voices. Or there are people who are saying something else made me do so. As if we are, even in real life, condemned by these sins we have by being sinful since we were born, if we follow religion. There is a demons inside of us, but it depends if we can control it or not. And how can we control this demon inside of us is the use of the free will. So we human beings, by having the free will, we can control our instincts, we can control our thoughts, our decisions. And after we make these decisions, of course, there's no turning back as what it was before, but this makes you understand that it's not just Kaya, it's not just Gabi. All human beings are like this. And this is another representation of how weak and how sinful, how bad human beings can be, of course. So this is part of us. This is how we are. And even if we don't kill a person, that we if we go out right now and we kill a person, we don't need this. There are other ways to be mean in the world, or to create meaningful thoughts, to create meaningful ideas. That it's not just about murdering others. Hatred is also part of us as much as love is part of us. So it's this opposite that is living inside of ourselves, and we just have to accept it because we can't live without being opposite. Look, even atoms, okay, in chemistry, atoms are made by positive values and even negative ones. So this is what we are. We are made of atoms, we are made of cells, we are made of everything. So if we follow science, even in science we find opposites. And look, if we take a battery, when we have to charge something, we need a battery. Even the battery is made of a plus and minus. So as you can see, opposites are the rulers of the world, and we are made of opposites too. So we just have to accept the fact that we can't be perfect, or we can't be plus only. There is even the minus. So when I'm saying that the world that can be peaceful only is just an utopia, I'm referring to this. I'm referring to the fact that we all hope that the world could be peaceful entirely and everyone can respect one another. This could be a great thing. But at the same time, we have to be conscious. We have to be honest with ourselves by saying that until there is even the counterpart, until there is even the other opposite, the world can't be ruled by one opposite only. We also need the other. So that's why maybe this vision of the world is too cruel that I have it, or too objective. I don't know, but definitely it's impossible to create a world based on peace only. it's absolutely impossible. The reason why it's impossible, it's because we are all different. We have different thoughts. We different in different ways. There are people who seek for power in this world too. There are people who prefer lies instead of truth, even in this world too. There is ignorance versus truth here in this world too. So until there is all this stuff, there is inequality. I mean, there is somebody who wants always to be superior than others. So until the world, even this real world, will be based on these things, there can't be peace. If we can solve these things, maybe. But nobody wants to, I mean, nobody of these superior people in our world wants to go back here. They always wanted to go here, 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 here. They don't want to go back. They don't want to be equal. Otherwise, even in our real world, there shouldn't be hierarchies. Until there are hierarchies, there will not be peace in the world because there will be always a people who are going to rule on us. And these people who are ruled, they can be tired and they can rebel. They can create a civil world or civil wars and things like this. So you need to understand this. People who believe that even in Shingeki no Kyojin the world should have been peaceful and they should have found the way, they are just a hypocrite. Because even in the world of Shingeki no Kyojin, there are people who seek power, there are people who want to create hierarchies, there are people who want to dominate on others. And until there will be people who want to dominate on others, there will never be an end of wars. There will not be entire peace. Mm, so that's why I'm saying, look, when the people are saying, no, no, Armin was right, thanks to the dialogue. Yes, but this is a utopia. It can work somehow, but you have to be ready to think that it can also not work. Because not all people in the rest of the world outside of Paradise can think the same. Because there is, sorry, individualism. All people are and think and say different things. So until there is this individualism, it's hard to put all people to think the same. Otherwise, we have to deny the individualism. Otherwise, there is a condition in which all people are thinking the same. But anyway, um, what Nicolo is saying when he is trying to stop Gabi and Kaya thinking there is a demon inside of me. No, I am the culprit. Oh, no, I am the culprit. Nicolo is right. There is a demon inside of all of us. So this Akuma no Ko, it's not just referring to Eren. Eren is just symbolizing what human beings are. That means sinful. That means having these bad characteristics, not just the good ones. That means being selfish, being presumptuous, being sinful, thinking about their personal interests only without caring about the person in front of them, etc., etc., etc. There are lots of sins, okay? Sacrifice other people because of their personal interests. I mean, all these things, okay? But Nicolo is right. All of us has a demon inside of us because all of us are sinful, not just Eren. Eren is just the main representation of humanity and their sins, but all of those human beings, no matter the size, they have good qualities and bad qualities. So we can develop the same instincts, the same revengeful thoughts, etc., etc., etc. So Nicolo is totally right. And he's saying there's a demon inside of all of us because, no, that's why the world is like this. Yes, sure. So if we know that the world is like this, should we destroy it? Can we think that it can solve by itself one day? The Yumiru no Tami that are going to be left after Eren's death, are they going to have the same demon inside of themselves? Yes, because they are human beings, so they will make maybe other mistakes. But that doesn't mean that the mistakes will be over. Those mistakes will happen again, maybe in other ways. but they will happen again, because until human beings live on earth, there will always be the chance to be corrupted, to be selfish, to be this, to be that, because that's the essence of what we are. Yes, we can also be really kind, we can really be propositive, we can have good thoughts, but we can't forget even the evil side of us. We can't. We can't, otherwise, we are incoherent. Otherwise, we are denying part of what we are. Otherwise, we are lying to ourselves. And this is not what we should do. We should accept the fact that we are made of opposites. And we can't think, no, I'm kind, I'm good only, I'm propositive, I'm always a positive, I'm always thinking about all the others, etc., etc., etc. This is hypocrisy. We should also analyze and being able to accept our bad sides. Because if we are able to discover, to dig inside ourselves and discover the bad parts of us, we can find our completeness. I mean, we can find the way in which we can be complete. This is what I believe. So, what Niccolo is saying is totally right. We don't have to condemn just some people and not all the others. No, we are all sinful. And you saw it through other characters. Look at Connie, look at John, look at Mikasa too, look at Eren, Armin, all of them. They have this instinct to be selfish, to protect what they want, to protect what they love. And then the others are coming later. This is how we are. If there is a war, guys, who are you going to protect first? Your parents, your friends, your dear people, I mean in general, or strangers? No, I think you, if you are coherent to yourself and you are not a hypocrite, you're going to save your family, or you're going to save your dear people first. You will think about your dear people first. If they are healthy, if they are okay, if the bomb fell on top of them or not. You will think about them first. And then later you think about strangers too. And then, of course, Gabi is asking Niccolo, so what we are going to do now? If we all have a demon inside of us, what should we do now? A nice question, because look, this is the perfect example when an adult is going to influence the thoughts of younger generations. And Niccolo was saying something great, because in this moment, Gabi is hopeless. Gabi is trying to find an answer. Gabi is a girl and she needs the support of adults right now, because that's how it's supposed to be. The old is going to educate the young one. The old one is going to protect the young one, but it's going to inspire also the young one. So when Gabi is saying, so what do we do now? She's waiting for a coherent answer from an adult, from the person that should be an inspiration for her. The same person that should help her to go out from the forest. If we remember the dialogue, not the monologue that Sasha's dad was having, that was simply important. It's because of adults that the kids are forced to go inside the forest. We have to prevent this. We, all the generations, have to prevent this. If it's not starting from us, it can't start from them. That is the same thing that I'm telling you regarding Eren destroying the world. Those kids in the rest of the world, if they were still living, They would have been educated by adults who were keeping saying that in paradise there were evils, devils, because they were inspired by these old generations, and those in the rest of the world's older generation were putting those kids into the forest. Instead of preventing to put them into the forest, they were accepting them in the forest if they were surviving. So, as you can see, of course, if we look everything in the present time, when the rumbling is affecting all those innocent kids, yes, they are innocent in that moment. Yes, I agree with you. In that moment, they are innocent. But if they survived, there was the risk that they would have not been innocent anymore. So, should we prevent this or not? This is another thing to think, actually. But what Niccolo is answering is something really great, because he's saying we should go out from this forest. And even if it's hard to do so, we shouldn't stop trying to do so. This is an amazing answer from a person who is from an older generation, who learned from another older generation, such as that, to how go on with this thing. So Gabi right now is very well inspired. I mean, now Gabi has a great example to follow, because these adults don't want to risk her to go inside the forest as much as she was controlled by her parents or by Marley or by the rest of the world. In this case, she is finding adults who prevent this, who don't want her to go inside the forest, who are trying to protect her from going inside. And if she goes inside, they are ready to go inside the forest too, to help her going out. This is a huge inspiration compared to the rest of the world and what they are doing. So Gabi in paradise could find the real answer, something that can let her reach happiness, to stay away from the forest. And Niccolo is coherent. He's really honest, because he's not saying that it's easy to do so. It's pretty hard, or maybe it's even impossible to go out from it. But the good thing is that you keep trying. Until you don't try, you'll never know. So the more you try, the more you see the results. But it's better if you try instead of not trying, because if you deny to you the possibility of trying, you're just going to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So at this point, what Niccolo says is a masterpiece. It's correct. Eren, are you choosing the easiest path? That means instead of just trying to go out from the forest by using other methods, you try to exterminate everyone. Isn't it this the easiest path? I mean, by erasing something, you're not changing, you're just erasing. If you really wanted to change something, you should keep these people on earth and try to change them, no matter how hard it is. But Eren is using the easiest path. He is convinced, and I open a bracket, that's why I think that Eren will regret this. I mean, he's still already regretting what he's doing, but because he saw it from the future. But it depends what he saw from the future. Because now Eren is definitely convinced that by doing what he's doing, everything will be fine. But Eren is forgetting that even if Yumiro no Tami will survive, inside these Yumiro no Tami, there will be other problems. Like in season 3, part 1 with the coup d'etat. Even if we were inside of a paradise only, There were corrupted people. There were people who were trying to protect the lies instead of truth, etc., etc., etc. Over there, it was not the rest of the world. Over there were just the Yumi no Tami. So, Eren, by saving you, my dear Eren, by saving Yumi no Tami only, do you really think that the world is going to change, or do you think that these meaningful things can happen in a different way, maybe, or maybe in the future there will be even another sort of discrimination happening, we will never know, or some sort of dominations coming later too, it could happen. So Eren maybe is making this mistake, that he's too convinced that what he's doing is the proper thing, but this is not erasing the fact that those problems can come out in a different way again. Um, so, Aaron, you by erasing the rest of the world, when you erase, you are not changing things. So, Aaron is making the same mistake again, because Aaron, throughout his existence, wanted to change things. But he is repeating this mistake by not changing things, by just erasing. That is different. And then the scene is finished like that. Then we pass to the other scene in which a man, yeah, MP, I can agree with you, but at this point, we need to understand if what Eren wants to do is an influence coming from King Fritz, because King Fritz, at that time, he didn't want to erase all the dominion on others. He didn't want to erase the hierarchy. He didn't want to erase the possibility to corrupt others, to conquer others. If we follow King Fritz's instincts, and Eren is following or is influenced by this because he is descending anyway somehow from King Fritz too, then it makes sense, yeah, because this is something really cruel to do, but it's following what King Fritz wanted to do, to create a dominion for aliens only. So this is coherent anyway. But if Eren wants to erase the rest of the world because he wants to save his dear people and because he has good intentions, let's say, then in this case, it matters what I told you before. So I hope I was clear to you. But anyway, thank you, 360 Hoscope. Thank you so much for following me. Um, Anyway, now we jump right into this scene in which this man, that is one of the soldiers, is going to be eaten. That is the same thing, actually, that can happen with Gyrudo in season 2 while he was drinking. Do you remember? Before Nanaba was coming to save him, there was this moment in which this man is eaten, is about to be eaten by the Titan, as much as Hannes, who was about to be eaten by the Titan, as much as all these scenes in which you can see that there is a person that is grabbed by the Titan and is going to be eaten, right? Even for Armin, it was like this, and then Eren was saving Armin at that time. Or even Jan in season 1, when he is confronting all these Titans and his face is speechless until Eren is coming and he is hitting the Kyojin from outside by being a Kyojin him too. So, yes, these references are so important to the previous seasons because they make you understand that the story didn't change so much. I mean, there are always these events repeating all over again. So the question is the world changed? Or are we always in same of the same? Are we always inside of the same hell once again? Can human beings change things for real or not? Are they going to repeat the same mistakes as before? But from season 1 to season 4, many years passed, but there is not such a big difference. Huh? And then Sadis arrived. Shadis or Sadis, call him as much as you like. Oh, let me tell one thing to him. great. I mean, I liked this moment because I remember when Shadis was saying always, I'm not special. I mean, when he was realizing, even by talking to Carla at that time in the past, that he was not special. He was not considering himself as a special because he saw that other people were more special than him. But today, Shadis, I wanted to say to you that you, in that moment, were special too. I really liked when Isayama decided to praise a character like this based on his words by thinking that he was not special at all. But in this case, Sadis was special because he was in front of everyone, guiding everyone and protecting all these students that they were under him. This was so great. And yes, if we wanted to make some parallelism with other season, you see Levi in the first season after Annie was, let's say, was almost being eaten by Eren. He is appearing in the same position. Yes, even Sadis is moving the head like this. But that Sadis head moving like this, it also reminds me Eren in season 2 when he is talking to Mikas about this scarf. And you know that there is a great connection between Shadis and Eren somehow. But this face that he was showing while he was talking to them, yeah, it reminded me Eren in season 2 too when he's talking to Mikasa before hitting Dinah Fritz. But yeah, also the appearance of Levi in season 1, as much as Mikasa in season 1 when she is appearing to defeat the Titan who was about to eat Historia after the tower of this castle was falling apart, or even Nanaba, yes, in season 2 when she is coming to save Girudo, and then she is making this face too, as much as Mikasa is turning this face for Historia. I mean, this way to represent the person who is coming to save the others and is making a speech. That means, come on, let's gambarimasu, let's fight, let's keep going ahead with our mission, etc., etc., etc. Look, I open a bracket. When Shadis is making this speech as much as Jan later is making the speech to encourage the others to fight, it reminds me also Mikasa when, I mean, after Eren was he eaten by the Titan in season 1, when Armin doesn't know how to tell her that Eren was eaten. Even in that case, after she heard from Armin those words, she went in front of all the soldiers, Mikasa, and she was saying that speech to encourage them to keep going on fighting. Mm, so you see always this leitmotif of these conductors who are going to make a speech and encourage the others to react, to manage their fears, and to go ahead fighting. This was really awesome too, definitely. Um, and then some of the yes, some of these recruiters who were about to become the Chosahedan, you remember that they were going against Sadis in season 4, part 1, because those soldiers were going to be recruited by the Jaegerists and they wanted to change side. And Sadis took, I mean, it was a hit so many times. But it was good that Sadis didn't give up and didn't refrain from saving all these soldiers because he couldn't betray what he was. And that's why I think that Sadis was a special in that moment. Um, and then, yes, at that time, when this scene in which there is this huge hole in the wall of this building, there was John. You remember that I told you already? John was like this. He didn't know what to do until Eren arrived as a Titan form, as the first time we saw him as the Shingeki no Kyojin try to, even if he didn't know that John was inside there, but he was protecting him. Huh? And yes, season 1, episode 8, exactly. But then we see Yelena, who's looking for the Titans, and she's also previously she was also saying these are Zeke's Titans. Why they are not? Why they keep going ahead? Why they are not stopping? And even if Yelena, with her disillusion, she's understanding that she can be eaten by that titan if somebody is not coming to save her. That's ridiculous because she was always a partner of Zeke, and those titans are controlled by Zeke. So why these titans are about to kill me, who I was a supporter of Zeke? So if Mikasa didn't arrive and save her, she could have been eaten. So everything that Yelena was convinced and she was sure about is gone. It's definitely gone. All her convictions and all her sureness about who Zeke is, etc., etc. No, Zeke is another selfish character who's thinking about his plan only, who's using not just Ymir but even them to reach it. So, who's even using Eren to reach it. So, Yelena, welcome back to reality and welcome to the party because, of course, you're part of it. You're nothing to Zeke, and you should understand this, or you should change your vision about Zeke, as we said it before. But I really like Mikasa's face when she is hitting the Titan of Yelena. I mean, the Titan that is going to hit Yelena. That was so great. First of all, because Mikasa is looking at her as if she wants to break her into pieces, let me tell you. Because it's because of Yelena, somehow, who approved Zeke's plan that now Shiganshina is in that condition. Because if Yelena didn't follow Zeke and her and his plan, etc., etc., Zeke couldn't reach somehow his goal to reach Shiganshina, and the Titans were not transformed. So even her comrades, Mikasa's comrades, were not sacrificed for all this. So Mikasa's face is like a Levi's face. Okay, they are two Ackerman, but it reminds me of Levi that is having the same facial expression when he is understanding that it's because of others that those comrades have to be sacrificed, they have to be killed, and it's pure injustice. Yeah, but not just because they are Yumi Rotami, but also because they are transformed into Titan because of other people's will. So we go back to what they wanted to do with the Falco. The same thing, right? But I like this way in which Mikasa is looking at her as if she wants to say, it's all because of you that now I have to hit this comrade of mine and try even to save you. This was so great, okay? And also because this reminds me Levi, because even Levi, if you remember, was saying while Zeke was transforming those comrades of Levi in the forest because of the same scream. Levi was so amazing because he was saying, do you think that this is the first time that I have to kill my comrades? You don't even know how many times I had to see my comrades dying because of this, or you don't know how many times I had to do this. So if you think that for me this is painful, you don't know what I was being through. And yes, Mikasa, by looking at Yelena, is thinking the same exact thing because now Mikasa was killing one of her comrade, one of the people in Paradise, one of the military forces in Paradise. So even Mikasa, by looking at that in that way at Yelena, was thinking, you don't even know how many times I did this. So it's no more painful as before. I'm used to this. And this is even sadder. Yeah. And then here barricades, these OSTs starting. Thank you so much, Mappa. Thank you to put this music. I got chills. I was pretty nostalgic and I wasn't crying. Yeah. because this refers to the same OST that it was put in season 2, episode 12. The moment in which it seems that they are still all together, fighting against an enemy that was supposed to be so innocent compared to what's coming later. An enemy that was just the Titans, but they still didn't know those Titans where they were coming from. They were just enemies to be defeated in order to reach the other side of the walls. That means the ocean. Over there in season 2, there was still the hope, okay? There was still the hope that something could change. They, by reaching the ocean and defeating all the Titans after the walls, they could have been free. So when they were putting these OST, it was pretty nostalgic, but it was also really painful. Because if you check the conditions of the characters right now, you know that nothing can go back as before. That now the same music that was put over there can't reflect the same feelings, because at that time Eren was there next to them, Eren in a human form, and Eren will not go back as a human form. I believe so. I mean, I still believe that the last time Eren was able to meet Mikasa and Armin was that moment when he was saying bad stuff to them. That is the same way in which Eren said, I mean, he was arguing with Carla before seeing her dying. And in episode 2 of season 1, he is saying this, that that time I was arguing with my mom, and that was the last time that I saw her like this. That is the same thing that is happening now. Mikasa and Armin saw Eren for the last time in the human form over there. Mikasa, I've always hated you. Armin, you are a coward. You're just following. I mean, once again, he was leaving them by saying bad stuff. And that's why I feel so sorry, because in season 2, when there was barricades, they were all together. Eren was there, and he was carrying Mikasa like that, and he was trying to protect her. But now Eren is not there. I mean, he's still protecting them, still protecting her, but he's no more beside them. I mean, he's no more here next to them. He's there, and he will die. So it's different. As much as Sasha was there too, but now she's not there anymore. Connie, now he flew away, but in that moment in season 2, they were all together. Historia too was there too, and I don't know, this feeling that you could feel in that season, as if we are still all together fighting against an enemy, but now that enemy is becoming one of them, and it's pretty sad. Yeah. And then John, who's going to guide all of them, as much as it happened in season 1, episode 8. This great animation that you see when they are launching themselves from this tower, as much as they were launching in that episode. And this was one of the major attack of Titans at that time in season 1. And John was there. He was one of them. But I remember, of course, Marco's words. And Marco would be so proud of him right now. He was already expecting John to become a great commander by going ahead against the difficulties and hard times. And Marco was right. And we have to remember that John is making this role, is having this role in this particular moment also because he wanted to fulfill Marco's hopes. You need to remember that John joined Chosahedan to avenge Marco. So everything that he's doing is because he's respecting Marco's will or Marco's thoughts. And This is so great because once again, in this story, you see that even if characters are dying in previous seasons, they are still so essential and they are still having a great importance. No matter if it's a Sasha, in the case of a Pixies too, but even Marco, he was one of the least characters in the list of the main, the most important ones, right? But he's still essential. He's still important. And we know that in this episode there is this great connection too. And then it's so great the speech John is making before launching because he's saying let these comrades of us find peace by finishing their misery. Wow. I mean, this is really hard to say, okay? Because in front of them they have their comrades, and this is what Levi felt in the forest in season 4, in season 4, part 1. The same pain that has to be repressed, that has to be compressed and put it aside, because now the most important thing is to survive. And by killing them, that doesn't mean that they will forget about them. They just have to. It's necessary for them to kill them now. But even what he's saying, that's totally great because he wants them to find a peace. Otherwise, they can't. And this is so sad, really, really. And all the titans that are looking up, by looking at them, it reminds me the forest and season 4 episode thought, I don't remember right now, with the Levi in the forest. It reminds me of the castle in season 2 when they are all waiting for them to fall. Um, uh, it reminds me even in season 1, or it was a season 1 or season 2, I don't remember right now, but some titans, season 1 I guess, some titans, they were on the other side of the walls of Shiganshina, and they were like doing like this because they were waiting for somebody to fall. Or even in the forest of season 1 when the titans were looking up, and all of them, they were on top of these giant trees because they were afraid to be eaten. All of these representation of these titans who are looking up, waiting for somebody falling. That was pretty sad. But one of them in this episode is Pixies, and oh, Pixies. Look, I feel so sorry for him that he is dead, because in that moment when they are launching to destroy all of these comrades, it's like this dream to go ahead together towards freedom is gone forever. Now reality took place instead of a dream forever. I mean, it already took place before, but in this moment, it's forever. Eren is transformed. Pixies and all the others are defeated. Just few left. The dream to be free forever altogether is gone. And this makes me feel emotional. Anyway, Pixies, the same face that we see when Levi is killing that comrade in the forest. Do you remember that there is this first impression of the Titan's face while Levi is talking? And we needed to kill him, but it's even more painful because he was part of this project of the dream to be free. And he was a great helper of all of them in season 1 at the beginning when nobody was trusting them. I'm talking about Armin, Eren, and Mikasa, and all the Chosahedan who wanted to go ahead with their project to find answers outside the walls. He was also the one who was hoping Eren to be the hope for the humanity when, of course, he is not. He is just the hope for Yumi Runotami at this point. But Pixis was the one who was encouraging Eren, who was testing Eren's determination, especially when he was asking him to close trusts. I mean, the trust wall. And he was asking him, "Do you think that you're able to do so?" I mean, Pixis was essential in the previous seasons, and he was also fighting to find answers somehow. And now then, he already got the answer, unfortunately. As soon as he was transforming into a Titan, you see the acceptance of what was coming. So, yeah, yeah, yes. And then Mikasa, who's saving Louise all over again, as much as season one when she was saved. And Louise that is looking at her as if she's seeing a goddess on earth. Louise, don't make the same mistake. I mean, in my opinion too, Mikasa is a goddess, but when I say that she's a goddess, it means that she's so beautiful. I really love Mikasa. So pretty. But anyway, Luis, don't make the same mistakes as Yelena did with Zeke, because otherwise you're going to be burnt. But anyway, Mikasa was going to save her once again, and no matter if she was provoking her in season 4, part 1, by asking her, "Did you join just ahead and just because of Yeager-san?" Ah, shut up. Yes, in fact, Mikasa is saying, "Shut up, okay? Shut up." uh, then, after they defeated all the Titans, there is this noise in the distance, the noise of boom, boom, boom. This red sky, these flames everywhere. It's like a post war scene, huh? But these boom, 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 that you hear it in the distance, it makes you understand that this is just the beginning of the end. And I really like all these details that could recreate this atmosphere. They were simply amazing, let me tell you. And there is all this scene of the Kyojin moving, and this scenography that Mappa used to turn a little bit the scene while they were moving. This was so nice. Look, I want to praise Mappa, because even when they were launching, that there was this scene which everything is moving, and in the meantime they are diving as if they are, yeah, diving when they are launching. This was so pretty. The ODM scenes, they were pretty amazing. And Mappa, congrats, you're making a great job. Definitely, nobody can say the contrary. If they say the contrary, they are just a stupid people, let me tell you. And then Onyankopon, Onyankopon, that is asking confirmation to John. He really feels bad because he has his people too on the other side of the ocean. So he's in front of the evidence, and he's worried about his people too, as it should be, because all people are worried of their dear people first. Then Flock is coming. And the Flock is saying, "John, you were the one controlling all this situation against these Titans while I was busy." Flock, come on. I mean, Flock is, as I was talking to one of my subscribers on Instagram, and he was saying something totally correct that I also agree with this. Flock is the promoter of the forest. I mean, Flock wants to keep going ahead by letting other people join the Jaegerists to this forest. He is the one promoting it instead of avoiding it. So definitely, even the fact that he's saying, "John, you did it," as if he's saying, "John, you did a great job because you were promoting this way to go on killing others while I was too busy to survive." Come on. John was not replacing you at all. For John was cruel too. And if he could have chosen, he would have never done this. While you, Flock, would have done this no matter what. So This is a huge difference. And then he is still convinced, okay? He is still talking about the Eldian Empire. And we all know now that the Eldian Empire refers to the King Fritz Empire, to the King Fritz project to keep dominating the world. And Flock, I think you should understand what this Alien Empire means, because this is not what you believe, or maybe, or if yes, this is something really bad, because we all saw what King Fritz did on Ymir. Flock, if you only know that the real Eldians and the real Eldian Empire was based on a slavery, and was based on the slavery of one of you. Because Flock, you also come from Yumi no Tami, so how can you accept that your origin was enslaved? This is incoherent. I mean, if you only knew that what you refer to the Alien Empire, you're referring to a King Fritz who made Ymir, that is the person you are descending from, as a slave. Wow. But you also wanted the restoration of that empire at this point, because Eldians were something else. Yumiru no Tami are one thing. Eldian Empire is another one. The Eldian Empire is the empire that was ruled by King Fritz, who was enslaving Ymir for his purpose. So, Flock, do you want something like this? Do you want it to be a slave? Once again, not because, look, the Eldian Empire was based on this. Ymir was a slave to Fritz to create his dominion. So, this is a little bit antithetical with what you want at this point. You now wanted to dominate, but you are a Yumi no Tami, so you should be a slave of this alien empire. Or if you knew what happened to your source, that means Ymir, maybe you can change your mind. Maybe. I'm not sure, but if you only knew. And Yelena is not saying anything. Yelena is becoming without a personality, as much as Ymir at that time that she couldn't even have the pupils inside her eyes, okay? That's the same. Yelena now is empty because all her thoughts, her ideals are gone. She has the evidence that everything that she was thinking was wrong. So she is like a container without a soul. Her soul is gone. In fact, she's not even reacting anymore. And then the last scene, Gabi and Armin, when they are talking. Oh, Gabi, standing ovation. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you could reach this point, and I was waiting for this moment. And as I told you many times, in season 4, part 1, I was waiting for this, definitely. And I'm so happy that it happened. But when now he's also saying, look, I don't want to fight anymore. Wow! Wow! In episode 1 of season 4, part 1, she was like, the more I fight, the more it's better. Let me go to war. Let me go to send these bombs because I know that I can. Now, I don't want to fight anymore. Wow. What a huge difference. I just want Falco back. So she's praising her feelings instead of this indoctrination, and this is a step forward, definitely. But then Armin is explaining everything that is happening to Connie's mom and to the decision of Connie, why Connie wants to save his mom, of course, and why he wants to save his mom because of what happened 4 years before with the attack on Ragako, and that is connected with the same attack to Kaya 4 years before. So you know that for Gabi, now that 4 years ago attack has a deep meaning, because she was confronting the Kaya, because the Kaya took her over there, etc., etc. She showed her everything. So that attack of 4 years before now in Gabi is like a weapon. I mean, it's like a knife that is passing through her heart, because she knows what that attack caused. And even in that case, it was Zeke creating this attack. So, oh, look, try to understand the Gabi's position, because now, of course, she knows that Zeke can create all this. So she also understands that that time at that time was even a Zeke creating this attack. But anyway, and she, the first thing she's saying is, "I am sorry." I mean, she would have never said this. And this makes you understand how this character changed. And how did she change? Because she went to Paradise. So Paradise is her release, her way to release herself from the cage. In Paradise. Isn't it antithetical if you think about it? Yes, but this is how it goes. In Paradise, she could find her freedom of thoughts. Wow. While all the rest of the world were confining people in Paradise, the Yumi Runotami in Paradise, by thinking that they were devils, no, in that circumstance, in Paradise, she could find herself. Wow, Sugoi, fantastic. And then she said, "I'm sorry, but I can't forget about Falco anyway. I can't get rid of him." Okay, this makes sense, because she wants to protect the people she loves, of course. And then Gabi, she's asking, "Well, we can't ask Eren to bring Connie's mom back as before." And Armin is saying, Eren would have already given back humanity to those who were Titans, but he can't do it. So at this point, yes, I was telling you, even in Ragako and in that attack of 4 years before, Zeke was transforming these people into Titans, and he can't. I mean, Eren can't bring them back to human beings, to what they were before, right? Every time Zeke is involved in this, Eren can't. So we needed to understand Zeke's position now. We needed to understand if it's because he is from the royal blood and Eren can't influence this decision. Because now he renounced the vow of war, so he rebelled, and it means that he can use his Shiso power entirely. But every time Zeke is involved in this, no matter if it's the Pixies' transformation into attack and all the others, that Eren couldn't stop from them to attack the rest of Shiganshina or Paradise in general, etc., etc., as much as Connie's mom, who was transformed into a Titan by Zeke, can't go back as before. So Eren can't do anything for this. So it's a limit that he has, maybe, or it's part of those things that he couldn't understand still. And Zeke was telling him, "Look, I don't think you can understand still everything about all this, because there are still some things you don't know." While Zeke spent years and years in the dimension of the paths, tried to get in touch with lots of info, new stuff. We don't know, but definitely here there's the point. Every time Zeke is transforming people into Titans, Eren can't stop them or can't turn them into human beings anymore, etc., etc. So there's the point. Uh, but Gabi is saying, if you don't ask Eren, you will never know. This is correct. I mean, we also said this before. If you don't try, you will never know. But I don't think that Eren now can or is able to do something like this, because now Eren is busy with something else. And I don't think Eren wants to listen to them anymore. He's just focused to go ahead with his project, that he is not going to listen to anybody else right now. So it's pointless, absolutely. But what Gabi is saying makes sense. If you don't ask, you will never know. Gabi is desperate, okay? you see how desperate she is, because and she is reaching even the moment in which she is saying the same sentence, almost the same sentence as Colt said when he wanted to protect the Falco. The same. She's saying, Eren doesn't have to kill everybody. He can kill just the people in the Alliance. On Marley, the military thing, people meeting in Marley for the Alliance. That is almost the same thing that Colt said while protecting Falco. Look, Zeke, you can kill everyone, okay? And you can kill whoever you want, but please save Falco. At least save my brother. Almost, okay? In this case, Gabi is desperate, and by being desperate, she's even starting saying something mean like this. That means, look, if it's a Falco, Eren doesn't have to kill everybody, okay? Or if it's my family that I want to protect my family, Eren doesn't have to kill everybody. He can kill just, but we are always talking about killing people anyway. So he can kill just. See the desperation that is taking you say that makes you saying things like this. That is as much as what Colt was saying at the time. That it was said because of desperation, because the people you care matter to you more than others, more than anybody else. But from Eren's perspective, yes, Mikas, Armin, Jan, Connie, Levi, Hanji, they matter more than the rest of the world. So, see, even if the proportion is different, but the concept is the same. Okay. And then, he took the armor away from Reiner, so he can do it. Even in this case, he can if we ask. Then, look, I feel so sorry for Reiner for a second, because when Mikasa was asking him, was asking Gabi, where is Reiner? Gabi, because she was desperate in the meantime, she was saying, who cares about where he is? Poor Reiner. I mean, in that moment, I was thinking, no, poor Reiner. He always wanted to save you, to protect you. Eh? Who cares about Reiner in this case? He's over there somewhere. Huh? Reiner, we feel so sorry for you, but look, we still care about you, okay? At this point, I don't know if Reiner will survive. But if there's the chance, I don't know. I still believe that he will not, but never say never at this point. Huh? And then Armin, when he heard this thing, he was following his heart. And in fact, Mikasa, Armin, that means, what's wrong? Well, of course, we know that Armin loves Annie. And not because Bertold is influencing him. He loves her since season 1. And when he found that she was betraying them, it was really hard for him, because everything was going against his feelings. But now, and also the fact that he couldn't do anything rather than staying 4 years over there to talk to her, to tell her his feelings, his intimate feelings, makes you understand that he is loving her so much. But the problem, also because Annie was the first one praising him for real, if you remember. I mean, she was praising the fact that he was really intelligent, he was really kind, and for Armin, these were gold words, okay? Words that were gold, like a gold rain coming from the sky. So, and Annie didn't want to kill him when there was the chance. She was already taking out the hoodie to see who that person was before killing. So, wow. She's back, I can't wait. I don't know if it will happen, but I can't wait that Eren understands that Armin loves Annie. Because I don't know what his reaction would be. I mean, and this is why I'm interested. I mean, I feel so curious. Can you imagine? Eren and Armin are talking together. Look, Eren, I have to tell you one thing. I love Annie. No, I mean, in Eren's opinion, this is worse than a traitor. Okay, I mean, let's put ourselves in Eren's position. So does this mean you, Armin, are asking me to spare Annie? The same person who created a catastrophe in season one? Why, I can't wait to see his reaction. This is just so great. Because Eren can, I don't know if he knows already, or maybe yes, he understood that and that's why he wanted to provoke Armin because of this. But sincerely, to hear a real confession, a real declaration of love would be definitely different, sincerely. Let's see, but Annie is back. It was supposed to come this moment. And as I was telling you at the beginning of this live streaming, there is a connection with the beginning of the episode because at the beginning of the episode, we see her father. And this cycle that is closing the episode is so great because there is still that promise. And as you can see in this story, oh, sorry. In this story, the promise is the connector of everything. I mean, everyone is having a promise. I promise him to do this. I promise her to do so. I promise them to do so. There is a promise that is always connecting all these characters together. And let's see if Annie can meet her father again. I don't know, sincerely, because now the rumbling is coming. So I don't know if she has the time to reach him. So she maybe is going to break that promise. I don't know. But definitely we know that her father is waiting for her. And she now that is going out, she heard what Eren wants to do. I'm pretty sure. I told you already because even Falco could hear it, even if he was not conscious. But he could feel it because Lara Taiba was inside the cocoon and she could feel things. So as much as she could feel the things, even Annie could feel Eren's speech, I'm pretty sure. And by being Yumi no Tami, she could feel it anyway. But Annie, let's see where she wants to stay. This is so interesting. Can't wait to see the next episode the next Sunday. Yes, I've heard that there is a delay of the last episode. The episode 12 will come out the 3rd of April instead of the 27th of March. But okay, nothing is going to change. Let's let Mappa have some rest for 1 week. So they can finish in the best way. Yeah, this part 2. And then let's see what's going to happen. Or a movie or a part 3. Let's see. But anyway, okay, guys, I think for these analyses, so as you can see, even if it took me just 4 hours compared to last week that it was 13 hours, it depends on the episodes. It depends if there are symbols to make an analysis. It depends on the amount of things that you have to say. But this definitely doesn't make me think that this episode was meaningless. This episode was really meaningful. And it was not an episode of a transition. It was just a way to let you understand what the author wants to convey. That means no matter the years passed, we are still in the same condition. We are still in the same context. Nothing is changing so much. There is always a titans attacking human beings. There are always the human beings transformed into titans for the personal purposes only. There is the destruction. There is the war. Nothing is changed. And with this parallelism with the previous seasons, you understand this. But this episode was really meaningful. So even if I was just talking 4 hours instead of 13, you can't compare the two episodes because the previous episode was a throwback. It was a background story, and the symbols and the things that had to be analyzed were multiple. There were more than today, but the essence of the episode is still majestic. So please don't think that this is a transitional episode, because it's not. Okay, guys, I think for this analysis, that is it. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned because next week I come back in another location because we are moving. But anyway, we are moving to another apartment here in Tokyo. So in this weekend, we will make the moving, but don't worry because on Sunday I will react to the episode. Don't worry. And yeah, see you next week in another context, a little bit different. No, it will be the same actually. I mean, you will see the same background, the same. But anyway, I see you on Sunday with episode 82 or episode 23, yes, of a part 2 of Shingeki no Kyojin of season 4. See you next week with look, next week it will be like today. That means the analysis and the thoughts will come out on Thursday, because on Wednesday I'm pretty busy, and also because it's a national holiday here in Japan. So I take a break just for one day. So see you next week, actually, with the other thoughts regarding episode 82. Thank you so much for the support. Bye, guys. See you in the next video. See you in the next live streaming. See you next time. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye bye. See ya.